In today's fast-paced world, where so much is constantly changing and life often seems uncertain, the ancient wisdom of Stoicism offers us a way to find inner strength, remain calm, and discover true wealth. Stoicism is not just a way of thinking, it gives us practical tools for dealing with life's good and bad times. This perspective not only supports you in overcoming difficulties, but also in coping well in any situation. Developing a peaceful mind is the heart of this journey, and this is precisely the path we want to discover together. Imagine facing challenges with constant courage, where mistakes don't hold you back, but help you grow. This is called true Stoic strength. It means more than just being strong. It's like an inner shield that allows you to think calmly and clearly in difficult moments, so that obstacles can become opportunities. The Stoics didn't simply accept difficulties, but saw them as opportunities to become stronger. But resilience isn't the only important tenet of this philosophy. Another key idea is that we must learn to accept that some things are beyond our control. There is great wisdom in understanding what we can't change and making peace with that. In a world that constantly demands we improve, it is what it is doesn't mean giving up. Instead, it's a powerful statement of freedom that frees us from worrying about the unchangeable and allows us to focus on what matters most. Now let's look at wealth. Not just money or things you can own, but wealth of heart and mind. In the Stoic sense, being rich isn't about accumulating a lot of things or becoming famous. It's about strengthening the mind and nourishing the soul. This kind of wealth can't be taken away, and it grows with time and experience. A true guide to Stoic wealth isn't just about money. It shows how to live a life full of virtue, happiness, and deep meaning. But how do you remain calm and strong in a constantly changing world? The answer isn't to try to control others, but to find the strength that already lies within you. In his 7 important letters, Seneca offers us wisdom that not only explains, but also awakens us. It's about rising above the everyday and remaining calm and firm despite the chaos around us. This strength doesn't mean dominating others, but rather mastering your own feelings, thoughts, and decisions. Remember that it takes time to develop a steady mind. As you learn these teachings, you will grow and understand more with every step. It means paying attention to your thoughts, challenging old opinions, and ensuring that your actions align with your most important values. It requires courage, discipline, and above all, wisdom. When you embrace Stoicism, you will find that not only your thoughts but also your life will change. Embrace the principles of inner strength, acceptance, perseverance, and good posture. Develop a mindset that not only endures, but thrives on it. Building a Stoic spirit is the center of this journey. This path will lead you to your innermost core of strength and abiding wisdom. Imagine a seasoned captain steering a ship through stormy seas, steadily setting the sails, and continuing on despite the strong winds. This captain may be afraid, but he has learned to face the storm with courage. This image captures our lives, which are often uncertain and difficult. Just as the captain remains strong, you too can cultivate a courageous and steadfast spirit built on resilience. The word resilience comes from Latin and means to bounce back or to recover. It describes the ability to get back up after a setback, adapt to new situations, and keep going despite difficulties. Resilience is like a secure anchor that holds a sailor in a storm. Some people seem to be naturally resilient, as if they were born with the skills to deal with life's challenges. Others develop this strength gradually through experience and hard work. No matter how you acquire it, resilience is not just helpful but vital in a world that is constantly changing and full of challenges. It separates those who crumble under pressure from those who find a way to stay strong. But how do you build this vital strength? Is it possible to develop a firm resilience by following an ancient wisdom that, at first glance, seems far removed from modern life? Stoicism, a very ancient philosophy with a timeless message, provides the answer. It's more than just an idea. It originated in the bustling markets of ancient Greece and was further developed in the great cities of Rome. Stoicism is a way of life that deeply understands what makes people tick. It teaches us to accept what we cannot change and to focus on how to improve our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Stoicism is often misunderstood as a philosophy for cold, unfeeling people who should suppress their emotions. In fact, it encourages people to understand their feelings thoroughly and to channel them with reason and good deeds. Rather than having fewer feelings, it is about being particularly attentive to their own emotions. The Stoics believed that every difficulty is an opportunity to demonstrate good qualities, that every setback makes us wiser, and that we should enjoy happy moments without clinging to them too tightly. They understood better than many people today that life is short and it is not a good idea to fight against things we cannot change. Stoicism shows us how to use strength, acceptance, mindfulness, inner balance, and the firm will to do good deeds as a stable foundation. These values are at the heart of perseverance, precisely what Stoicism teaches. It helps us cope in a world often filled with quick pleasures and big problems. In other words, it shifts our gaze away from superficial distractions and toward deeper truths. Where others see difficulties as disasters, the Stoic recognizes them as opportunities for growth. When confronted with problems, a Stoic doesn't think, "Why is this happening to me?" but asks, "What can I learn from this situation?" For Stoics, dealing with problems doesn't mean suffering in silence or withdrawing. Instead, it's about facing challenges with clarity of mind, dignity, and inner peace. It means understanding that while we can't control what happens in life, we can certainly control how we react to it. Today, there are many self-help books, motivational speakers, and coaches offering tips on how to feel better. Many of these are helpful, but few have endured as long as Stoicism. For over 2,000 years, this philosophy has accompanied celebrities, keen thinkers, athletes, and ordinary people. That it remains relevant today shows how well it understands human nature and how to live well. This great wisdom reminds us that our lives are temporary and that we should focus on what truly matters: our character, our choices, and our legacy in the world. Through quiet wisdom, we can gain true strength. Imagine being able to face life's most powerful storms with a calm heart, seeing difficulties not as obstacles, but as opportunities for learning. This journey will take you deep into the core ideas of Stoicism. You'll gain tools to build a strong mind, strengthened by virtue and knowledge. How about you? Are you ready to brave life's stormy waters with the skill of a seasoned sailor? We'll now delve into the heart of resilience. Let's look deeper and discover the key building blocks of this powerful quality. Without them, even the best sailor would be lost at sea. You can think of resilience as a kind of emotional flexibility, the strength to bounce back after life has stretched, bent, or twisted you. But that analogy is perhaps too simplistic because it sounds like you can just go back to exactly where you were before. True resilience is more than just getting up. It's moving forward. It's using difficult experiences to draw strength from them to grow. Instead of simply going back to the same old you, you evolve, becoming stronger and wiser than ever before. In our fast-paced, constantly connected world, the demands of social pressure, problems at work or in one's personal life can sometimes be very difficult to manage. It often feels like life is a complicated puzzle, full of hurdles at every step. When major challenges like illness, social strife, or climate change are added to the mix, resilience doesn't just help, it becomes truly important. It's like an inner shield, a compass for our minds, and a source of strength within us. Psychologically speaking, resilience isn't simply the absence of stress or problems. It also means having special skills and ways of dealing well with difficulties. Research shows that resilience is linked to characteristics such as self-confidence, good emotional control, confidence, quick thinking, and strong friendships. Studies also show that resilience can be learned and strengthened, so it's not a trait you either have or don't have, but something that grows over time. Many different philosophies give us unique insights into resilience. Even if we focus on Stoicism, it's important to know that many schools of thought offer valuable lessons for persevering in the face of adversity. For example, Eastern teachings like Buddhism teach the idea of not holding on to things. This aligns well with the Stoic practice of letting go of feelings. Existentialist thinkers say that we shouldn't avoid life's difficulties and uncertainties, but that they are an important part of living a meaningful life. These diverse perspectives help us better understand resilience and show that it's not just about surviving problems, but about growing and flourishing despite them. Resilience is deeply connected to being human, and history shows us many people who have demonstrated great inner strength. Just think of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison and emerged with a vision for a united South Africa. His resilience changed not only his life, but also the course of an entire country. Or even further back, the Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius. He ruled an empire in turmoil and wrote wise thoughts on wisdom and courage. His words show how strong you can be, even when surrounded by war, disease, or betrayal. But resilience is not only found in great figures throughout history, but also in everyday life. It's found in single parents who work multiple jobs to support their children. It's found in people who have overcome serious illness and are now committed to helping others. It's found in students who overcome setbacks to learn successfully. These quiet examples show us how much strength lies in ordinary people, even when they don't appear in the news. When we examine the key ideas of Stoicism, we realize that each of them offers unique help in better understanding and developing resilience. These ideas provide a solid foundation for dealing with the difficulties of modern life. Whether you're leading a country, caring for a family, or working on yourself, they give you tools to not only overcome problems, but to rise above them. They help you transform struggles into strength and see obstacles as new opportunities. These important teachings about resilience accompany us as we learn about the individual Stoic principles. They make our journey to inner peace and strength particularly valuable. The first principle we discover is simple yet very important: knowing what we can and cannot control. This knowledge is like a compass when you feel overwhelmed, be it because of money worries, political events, or what others think of you. Stoic thinkers like Epictetus stated an important but simple truth. Our lives are not determined by what happens to us, but by how we react to it. Imagine your life like a painting. You didn't choose every color. Sometimes they just appear. But you hold the brush. You are the artist creating the picture. The Stoics believed that our thoughts, decisions, judgments, and actions are entirely up to us. When you truly understand this idea, it can be one of the most beautiful insights you ever have. It helps you let go of unnecessary stress and worry. You free yourself from the burden of what others think or how the world is. In essence, you are taking your life into your own hands. This principle is called the dichotomy of control and is a core tenet of Stoicism. In short, some things we can change, others not. We can control our thoughts, feelings, desires, and decisions because they are within our power. But we cannot control things like the weather, the stock market, or other people's behavior. Here are some tips on how you can apply this principle in your everyday life. If you're feeling nervous or anxious, ask yourself, is there anything I can do about this? If so, focus on what you can do. If not, try to let go of what you can't control. Before you get too worked up about something, consider, can I really change the situation? If not, it's probably beyond my control. Try the so what question. When you're worried, ask yourself, what if that really happens? You'll usually find that even in the worst-case scenario, the world won't end. This perspective helps you focus on what matters most. Mindfulness can help you better sense your feelings and recognize when you are overreacting to things you cannot change. Now let's try this principle. Grab a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. Create 2 columns, one labeled "In my control" and one labeled "Out of my control." Think about your school, friendships, health, and goals. Write down what you can and can't control. For example, you can decide how hard you put into school, but not how your teachers or classmates react. In a friendship, you can be kind and honest, but you can't force anyone to like you. This simple exercise can open your eyes. It's like taking heavy stones out of your backpack on a long journey. Suddenly the path becomes easier and more beautiful. So the next time you feel stressed about a mean comment at school or something that might happen soon, remember this important Stoic principle. Focus on what you can influence. Use your power there and let the rest go. This one exercise alone can completely change your outlook on life, free you from unnecessary baggage, and give you a more honest and clear life. Knowing what is within your control and what isn't just Stoic wisdom. It's a life skill that will make you strong and resilient. It's the first step on this path. As we continue our study, we now come to an important Stoic idea: emotional control, which used to be often called apathy. If that word brings to mind feelings like indifference or coldness, let us explain it properly. In Stoic philosophy, apathy doesn't mean having no feelings. It means wisely controlling your emotions instead of being controlled by them. It means not allowing yourself to be so carried away by your emotions that you lose your mind. The Stoics believed that our feelings largely depend on how we think about things and evaluate situations. This means we can change our feelings by changing our perspective. Imagine you're riding your bike and someone suddenly drives in front of you and cuts you off. You might be angry because you think the person intentionally blocked you. But what if you imagine the person urgently needs a doctor or hasn't even seen you? This small shift in your thinking can make the anger much smaller. In Stoicism, emotional control is about building a kind of protective shield in your mind. This helps you think clearly and act wisely, even when you're feeling sad or angry. This skill is very useful in real life. Think of athletes who lose an important game or make a mistake. They don't allow their anger to consume them or let one loss dictate everything. Instead, they manage their emotions so they can learn from their mistakes and prepare for the next game. Their quick recovery demonstrates how well they manage their emotions. People like firefighters and doctors also need this ability. They must remain calm in dangerous situations and make good decisions without being overwhelmed by fear or sadness. This is just as important in the work of a boss. Leaders often make difficult decisions that not everyone likes. With emotional control, they can carefully consider what is best for everyone, without letting their emotions overwhelm them. When we learn to control our emotions, we can remain calm even in stressful situations, make wiser decisions, and recover more quickly from difficulties. Stoicism doesn't tell us to ignore our emotions. It tells us to understand them and not allow them to control us. This ability, just like control over what we can do, is an important key to resilience. Now let's try this together. You can sit down and close your eyes, or if you like, you can write everything down. Breathe deeply and slowly to calm yourself. Think of a situation that often annoys you. Perhaps you've had an argument with someone, or you've had a stressful day, or a piece of news has made you sad. Imagine you're in that exact moment, but this time you have an invisible protective shield around you. This shield represents your ability to remain calm and gain distance. As the event unfolds, imagine your feelings crashing against the shield and then flying away. They can't hurt you. You're aware of them, but you don't let them sweep you away. Take a moment to feel that sense of distance, the peace it brings and the clarity that comes with it. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes and take another deep breath. If you'd rather write, grab a notebook or open a note on your phone. Think of a time when you had very strong emotions. Describe exactly what happened and write down the thoughts or ideas that triggered your emotions. Then try to look at the situation from a different perspective. Shift your perspective so that the emotions are less intense. Write down how this new way of thinking changed your emotions and what you would do differently if the same thing happened again. When you practice letting go of your feelings in this way, you give yourself a valuable strength that helps you remain calm and strong, even in difficult moments. It's not about ignoring your feelings, but rather about channeling them wisely. Think of it like tuning an instrument. You still play the same notes, but now they sound clearer, softer, and more controlled. In Stoicism, emotional detachment doesn't mean not having feelings. It means better understanding and channeling them. This way, you can control your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. A life guided solely by unbridled emotions is like a boat without a rudder, simply drifting back and forth. But when we learn to control our emotions, we can consciously steer our lives. We gain the ability to choose a path that aligns with our true values and goals. Another important point in Stoicism is the idea that true strength comes from within, from our character and our good qualities. This is quite different from what often seems important today, where success is measured by money, rank, or looks. Let's examine this idea and see how it helps build strength that gives us a balanced life. The Stoics said the most important qualities are wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. These are not just rules for doing good, but practical tools for overcoming difficulties. They believe that these virtues lead to eudaimonia, a special word from the Greek that means profound happiness and genuine well-being. These qualities give us not only a moral compass, but also a strategy for dealing well with life's challenges. Think about it. When you strengthen your character, ups and downs won't shake you as much. When the economy is bad, when people's opinions change, or when you experience something difficult, you won't be thrown off course as quickly as someone who seeks their worth only in external things. Focusing on inner virtues is like building a strong fortress for your mind, because while everything outside is uncertain, your values remain firm. No one can take away your honesty, kindness, or wisdom. They belong entirely to you. Let's look at an example. Imagine you work as a salesperson and your only concern is achieving your sales figures or being better than the others. What happens if the market is bad or a new idea doesn't work? You might feel bad about yourself, but if you instead focus on values like hard work, honesty, and good service, a difficult month won't be so easy to get you down. Instead, you'll find the strength to learn from it, improve, and move on. This also applies to artists or students. If someone measures their worth only by prizes, awards, or praise, they often experience strong emotional fluctuations. But if they value their creativity, their dedication, and the search for truth or beauty, they remain consistent no matter what others say. When you focus on inner virtues, your motivation also changes. You don't just want to be good to receive praise or rewards. You do it because it's valuable in itself. This creates a cycle that makes you increasingly stronger. You become more resilient, less dependent on external factors, and more powerful to overcome challenges. Let's test this idea with a little exercise. Write down the 4 most important Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Then think back on the past month. Can you remember any moments, big or small, when you demonstrated these qualities? Write them down. Also consider times when you might have been braver, fairer, wiser, or more self-controlled but weren't. This way, you'll learn to strengthen the good and carefully identify areas where you can grow. Set small goals for the next month to live these virtues more often. They are your own character goals, a way to measure your personal growth, not just achievements. The world often tells us to find happiness through things or recognition. Stoicism shows us that true strength and fulfillment arise from our minds. This will help you develop a stance that will remain firm even in difficult times. Stoicism teaches that focusing on virtue rather than external success is the key to lasting strength. When you direct your energy toward things you can truly control, you build an inner strength that won't weaken even when life becomes uncertain. They sparkle with strength and movement. For a Stoic, it's absolutely true to say that virtue is the centerpiece of a strong and meaningful life. As we delve further into the Stoic thoughts that strengthen our spirit, we come across an idea that can both awaken and liberate us: the embrace of change. At first glance, this may sound sad, but in Stoicism, it's a liberating truth, one that gives life meaning and helps us remain firm and calm in the face of inevitable change. An important tenet of Stoicism is that everything changes. It shows us how to live in the here and now, instead of wishing everything were different. Life is like a river that is constantly moving. Nothing stays the same forever, neither the good times nor the bad. When we understand this, we can better accept life's ups and downs and find inner peace. The realization that nothing lasts forever is not only important in Stoicism, it can also be found in other teachings such as Buddhism and nihilism. But Stoicism deals with this practically and helps us draw strength from it. Knowing that everything changes prepares us to better survive difficult times. At the same time, it reminds us not to cling too tightly to fleeting pleasures, lest the pain of loss become too great. One of the most beautiful thoughts on this topic comes from Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and great Stoic. In his Meditations, he wrote, "Time is like a river of transient events, a swift current. What appears is soon carried away, and something new follows, which also disappears." This is how Marcus Aurelius describes the transience of life, like a river in which one moment is quickly replaced by the next. He shows us that joy and sorrow are only temporary, and that a calm mind helps us endure the ups and downs. Imagine the strength of someone who knows that difficult times don't last forever. Such a person doesn't let problems get them down, because they understand that the good times also pass. Think of people who lose their jobs, but later find new meaning born of that loss. Think of friendships or relationships that end so people can grow and later discover new happiness. Embracing change can comfort us even in difficult times, like illness or the loss of a loved one. It reassures us that the pain will pass and healing is possible. Let's try a little exercise to bring this Stoic wisdom into your life. You can write in a journal, reflect quietly, or talk to someone you trust. First, write down 3 moments when you were happy or joyful. Consider how quickly they passed. How did you feel when they ended? What did you do? Now write down 3 difficult situations you experienced. How did they change over time? Did you realize they weren't forever? Finally, think about your life in a year. What things that are important to you today could change? How do you feel when you consider that nothing lasts forever? Does this help you appreciate certain things more or let them go a little? Understanding that everything is transient helps us see the world more clearly. It gives us the strength to deal with life's twists and turns and makes us stronger and more flexible. Accepting transience means learning to ride the waves of change. Every wave is different, sometimes gentle, sometimes wild, sometimes exciting, sometimes to be taken with caution. But a skilled surfer can handle any wave and remain balanced. In this way, even a Stoic, who recognizes life as constantly changing, can experience the good and the bad without losing his inner footing. If we delve deeper into Stoic ideas, we discover another powerful insight, seeing things as they truly are, without adding our own feelings or opinions. This sounds difficult at first, but it gives us great inner strength and enriches our lives. The Stoics said that many problems arise not from the events themselves, but from our way of viewing them. Epictetus, a famous Stoic, believed that we are not hurt by what happens, but by our thoughts about it. Modern psychology also confirms our thoughts influence how we feel. If we learn to look at reality objectively, we can better understand and control our emotions. Imagine you lose your job. The simple fact is that you're currently unemployed, and that has practical consequences. But if you think of it as a catastrophe or an injustice, everything becomes much more emotionally difficult, and you may feel hopeless. If you practice seeing things as they are, you'll be better able to handle difficult situations. Now think about the end of a friendship. If you only consider your feelings, it can feel like a huge loss, almost as if someone is shaking your self-worth or your happiness is running out. But if you try to look at it objectively, you'll realize that something has simply changed. The connection is no longer working for both of you. Thinking this way will help you calmly understand the situation, learn from it, and even see how it can help you grow or lead to new, better friendships. The same goes for criticism. It's easy to feel hurt when a friend, teacher, or boss tells you what you could improve. But if you step back and see the words as helpful suggestions rather than an attack, you can use this feedback to help you grow. Criticism sometimes hurts, but if you put your feelings aside, you can take the positive out of it and grow. Here are a few tips to help you learn to think clearly and calmly. Pause before reacting. If something is really upsetting you, take a deep breath and a moment to consider a different perspective. Question your thoughts. Consider, is this really true? Is this a fact or just my own opinion? Am I making the problem worse than it is? Try to look at the situation from the outside. Describe it as if it happened to someone else. Don't ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, ask, what happened? What does it mean? Get a different perspective. Sometimes you can't see a problem clearly because you're too close to it. Talking to a friend who remains neutral can help you better understand the situation. When we practice seeing reality without too much emotion, we become stronger. The ability to separate facts from feelings gives us control over our minds. Instead of reacting quickly, we can choose how we want to act. This makes us calmer, more stable, and ultimately more courageous in life. I would like to encourage you to keep a small Stoic journal. In the evening, write down when you had strong feelings, such as anger, sadness, or joy. Then step back and look at the experiences objectively, without big words or emotions. What remains? This exercise gives you clarity and freedom. Stoics use precisely this way of thinking to tone down exaggerated reactions and recognize the essentials, which enables healing and growth. When you get into the habit of seeing things as they really are, you become stronger and understand yourself and the world better. This skill is a powerful tool that protects your mind and makes you less likely to be thrown off track by emotions. You learn to remain calmer, even when problems arise. Now let's talk about conscious perseverance. This is an important idea that connects all the lessons so far. It's not just about getting through difficult times, but seeing them as an opportunity to grow and improve. Stoics didn't run away from difficulties. They saw them as an opportunity to live their philosophy and become stronger. They believed that problems are not only inevitable, but important to our character. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as work strengthens the body." Enduring difficulties isn't giving up, it's embracing life as it is. It's holding fast in the midst of the storm and saying, "Teach me." In this way, perseverance becomes strength, and setbacks can be valuable lessons. Remember, problems are a part of life. What matters is not whether you have difficulties, but how you deal with them. If you look at history or the people around you, you will see how they have grown by overcoming problems. Think of Nelson Mandela, who was in prison for 27 years but did not remain angry, but had a vision of peace. His time there was a time of great personal growth. J.K. Rowling experienced a similar experience. She faced many setbacks and difficult times before the success of Harry Potter. In the end, she became stronger and more successful through her challenges. Change your attitude toward problems. See them as opportunities, not obstacles. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Practice your Stoic thinking before experiencing difficult situations. Take a deep breath and remember Stoic ideas. You can also recall a favorite quote to remind you to stay calm. When you're struggling, try to remember a problem you've already solved. This often calms you and helps you act with strength. Knowing when to shift your perspective is also part of practicing perseverance. Sometimes resilience means changing and adapting. A flexible yet determined attitude can make all the difference. The Stoic principle of deliberate perseverance goes beyond endurance. It builds a deep and abiding inner strength. It shows us how to see difficulties as opportunities to grow and transform ourselves internally. Instead of letting problems control us, we learn to view life as a large classroom in which we are constantly learning, improving, and evolving. When we view life with the lens of deliberate perseverance, every challenge becomes like a tool in the hands of a sculptor, shaping our character. The difficulties may feel heavy, but they grind us down, making us stronger and wiser, just as masterpieces are created through patience and effort. Along our journey, we've encountered many Stoic ideas that strengthen the spirit and promote resilience. But Stoicism isn't just about our own strength. It's also about our connection to others and the importance of community. This brings us to the final important principle: shared humanity and the feeling of seeing everyone as one big family. Stoicism teaches us to see the world as a larger whole in which we all belong together. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and great Stoic, wrote in his thoughts, "We are born to work together, as feet, hands, and eyes work together." To work against one another is against nature, like the upper and lower teeth that do not agree. This idea of unity fits well with the Stoic values of reason and virtue. Just as you work on yourself to be a good person, you should also help and support others. Stoicism says that true contentment comes not only from our own strength, but from how well we connect with others. our happiness is closely connected to the happiness of those around us. When we harness resilience not only for ourselves but also for our community, everyone becomes stronger. When we help others through difficult times, we create a network of support that, in turn, picks us up when we need it. It's not about always being dependent on others, but about developing resilience that combines our own strength with helping others. A strong community is like a safety net that catches us and provides support when even the strongest people become weak. Let's look at how great leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. were deeply connected to their communities. Their personal strength not only helped them, but also made entire groups braver and more resilient. Think about the important people in your life, friends, teachers, or even people you talk to online. Their support and encouragement make you emotionally and spiritually stronger. How to become more resilient through community. Offer your help to others. Small acts of kindness, such as carrying groceries for a neighbor or volunteering, strengthen both the community and yourself. Listen carefully. Stoicism means controlling your emotions, but not ignoring the feelings of others. Kind listening helps maintain close relationships. Share your thoughts and values. Starting a philosophy or discussion group can help people come together to cultivate their strength. Take responsibility. Leadership isn't about having power, but about building a strong, supportive community and making decisions that help everyone. The idea that we all belong together is at the heart of Stoic teachings. Resilience may develop individually, but ultimately it unites us and strengthens larger groups. Seneca said, "We are all bound by fate. One man's chain may be of gold, another's of iron, but it matters not. The same fate binds us all. We are all connected by life and its challenges." This knowledge makes us strong and prepares us to play our part in the greater story of humanity. Don't just use Stoic ideas for yourself, let them guide you to help create a kinder, wiser, and more resilient world. We've embarked on an exciting journey through the wisdom of Stoicism. This ancient way of thinking from Greece and Rome is still relevant today. We've discovered 7 key ideas that help us build resilience: recognizing what we can control, managing our emotions, living our values, embracing change, seeing clearly, facing challenges with courage, and strengthening community. These aren't just thoughts, but practical tools that will help you stay strong inside when life gets tough. They promote clear thinking, help you accept what you can't change, and transform difficulties into opportunities for growth. Stoicism teaches not only strength, but also the power of community. You aren't just a single thread, but part of a larger pattern. When you live by Stoic principles, you strengthen yourself and the people around you. Stoicism isn't just about improving yourself, but also about making the world a better place through your behavior. Finally, I would like to encourage you to keep going. Let this be the beginning, not the end. Use these teachings in your daily life. Practice the exercises presented to strengthen your Stoic way of living. Remember that Stoicism is a lifelong path. It requires you to be willing to engage every day, remain curious, and be open to change. Apply these ideas to your daily life. Take responsibility where you can. Let go when necessary. Always choose what's right, accept the good and the bad, see clearly, face difficulties with courage, and care for the world around you. Your resilience isn't just personal, it's a gift to others, helping to create a wiser and more loving community. The old trees have much to show us. They don't fight the wind or complain about the rain. They simply live. They bend, sway, and sometimes break, but they do so calmly and with respect for nature without fear. What does it really mean to accept? What power lies in embracing reality without letting our hopes, fears, or ideas cloud our vision? Acceptance is not weakness. It means seeing things as they are and freeing ourselves from unnecessary pain and anger. It is a profound practice that combines thought, feeling, and trust. It teaches us to shape life not as we wish it to be, but as it truly is. Today we are used to shaping our world according to our wishes. We choose the flavor of our drink and customize our cell phone the way we like. But life itself doesn't always follow our plans. We encounter problems, unexpected turns, and situations beyond our control. We often resist these, wishing everything were different. Then we often hear the phrase, "It is what it is." You've probably heard it many times, during sports, at school, or in quiet moments. Although the words are simple, there is profound wisdom in them. It doesn't mean giving up, but accepting reality. There is a space between what we wish for and what actually happens. When we accept what is, we stop carrying the heavy burden of what-ifs and if-onlys. Over time, many people have pondered this idea. The ancient Stoics explained that we should choose wisely where we focus our energy, on what we can control, not what is beyond our power. Other cultures speak similarly, inviting us to be like water, which adapts and finds peace not by changing the world, but by changing its perspective on it. Although our lives today are very different from those of Epictetus or Laozi, the human experience remains the same. We all seek peace, wisdom, and a way to cope with difficulties. Stoicism is a teaching that remains relevant across time and cultures, but to truly understand it, it's not enough to just know the words. You have to live it. It invites us on a journey of self-discovery and growth. To learn true acceptance, we should bring the wisdom of great thinkers from the past and present into our lives. Let's explore these ideas through the examples of those who lived before us. On this journey, we will discover what acceptance truly means, how it can transform us, and the peace it brings to those who embrace it. Stoic wisdom. It is not things themselves that shake people, but the opinions they have about them. Epictetus, a Greek philosopher, was born a slave and had a hard life ahead of him. Most would say that such a beginning was not a happy one, but from these difficult circumstances emerged a philosophy that still shapes our thinking about control and acceptance today. Epictetus was eventually set free, even though he could barely walk because his master once injured his leg. He later founded a school in Neapolis, where he taught a philosophy based on the important distinction between what we can change and what we cannot. This distinction is not just a fact, but a tool, a way to better deal with life's challenges. Imagine you're standing by a vast stormy sea. The waves are crashing against the shore at varying speeds, directions, and forces. If you tried to control the tide with a small bucket, you'd quickly realize how impossible it is. Many people live like this, fighting things they can't control, which makes them sad, frustrated, or desperate. But what if, instead of trying to stop the waves, you focused on what you can do? You can decide how you hold the bucket, when you fill it, and where you pour the water. The decision is entirely yours. Epictetus's famous words, "It is not the things themselves that trouble people, but the way they think about them," explain this very well. It is not the events themselves that make us afraid or anxious, but how we understand them. A brief comment from a stranger, the loss of a loved one, or a failure are not inherently bad. How we view these things determines whether we are sad, angry, happy, or indifferent. The most important question is, do our thoughts scare us more than what is actually happening? Once we understand this, we can choose how we want to react. It's not about pretending to be happy when we're not. It means realizing that events are inherently neutral, and we have the power to determine how we respond. Epictetus said the only things we really control are our choices and our thoughts. We can't change the weather, but we can take an umbrella. We can't control what others do, but we can choose how we respond. We don't always control what happens, but we can determine how much effort we put in. This attitude doesn't mean we should just let things happen. Rather, it calls us to take responsibility for what we can control, our thoughts, feelings, and actions. While we can't control everything in life, we can decide how we act, what attitude we adopt, and how we deal with problems. Think about the little things that stress us every day. Traffic jams, rude words, or a broken plan. If we allow them, such little things can escalate into a wave of anger and anxiety. But what if we follow Epictetus's advice and ask ourselves, can I control this? If not, could we focus on what we can control, our reaction, our perspective, and our next steps? The wisdom of an ancient philosopher is as relevant today as it was centuries ago. In a world full of distractions and difficulties, Knowing what we can and cannot control doesn't make us smaller, but stronger. It gives us clarity, purpose, and above all, peace. Epictetus's teachings invite us to move through life not as helpless victims, but as strong people who face the storms with courage and wisdom. Knowing what we can and cannot change is the first step toward true acceptance, a beautiful balance in life's constant change. Life consists of many natural and spontaneous changes. Don't fight them, or you will only suffer. Let reality be as it is. These words come from Laozi, a wise ancient teacher who founded Taoism. People have followed this truth for centuries. Even then, wise teachers observed nature and discovered profound patterns in how life flows. Laozi, whose name means ancient master, showed a way to be in harmony with the flow of life, which is called Tao, or the way. Imagine you are standing by a calm river. The water flows easily, dodging stones and bending when necessary. It doesn't rush or fight, it simply flows on. This image illustrates the meaning of Taoism. Life has its own course like a river. When we flow with it instead of fighting against it, we find peace. An important word in Taoism is Wu Wei, which translates as non-action or action effortlessly. This does not mean being lazy or inactive. Rather, it means acting naturally and without pressure. A tree does not try to grow, it simply grows. Birds do not have to work hard to fly, they simply fly. Nature does not force itself, it simply is. This is Wu Wei. If we constantly struggle and push, we may achieve short-term success, but in the long run we lose peace and strength. Wu Wei encourages us to trust the natural course and to act only when it is right, without unnecessary pressure. Laozi's wisdom reminds us that life is constantly changing. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't fight them, that only brings sorrow. Let reality be as it is. How often do we resist these changes? We are dissatisfied with unexpected events, sudden changes, or even with aging. But trying to stop change is like holding back a river with our hands, impossible and exhausting. But that doesn't mean we should just give up or not care. Rather, Wu Wei means moving through life attentively and knowing when to lead and when to give in. Sometimes we lead, sometimes we follow. But we always move in harmony with the world around us. In our fast-paced, stressful times, Wu Wei is a valuable guide. Instead of viewing obstacles as enemies, we can understand them as puzzles we can solve. Instead of getting angry, we act calmly and thoughtfully. When we follow Laozi, life becomes less of a struggle and more of an adventure, full of beautiful experiences, insights, and wonders. When we follow the path of Wu Wei and entrust ourselves to the natural flow of the Tao, we don't lose our freedom of choice. Instead, we find a deeper, more meaningful control. We realize that true strength lies not in forcing the world to bend to us, but in understanding and cooperating with it. Laozi's wisdom has endured for many centuries because it's not just an idea to ponder, it's practical advice we can use in our daily lives. Perhaps you remember times when you struggled and were frustrated with something, or tried to achieve something that wasn't working out. If you enjoy the content, consider becoming a channel member. This way you can support the channel and receive exclusive extras. Simply click the link in the description and become a member now. Back to content. By learning from Wu Wei, we can approach similar situations differently in the future. Life is full of twists and turns, but when we allow ourselves to be guided by Tao, we walk the path with ease, understanding, and serenity, even when everything around us seems uncertain. Accept everything that comes your way as part of your journey. What could be more fitting for you? These words come from Marcus Aurelius, a great ruler of ancient Rome. He led great armies and ruled a vast empire. But in quiet moments, often on his way to battle, he wrote down his thoughts, the famous Meditations, an important work of Stoic philosophy. Despite his power and wealth, he sought wisdom not in pomp and circumstance, but in the simple, enduring power of philosophy. At the heart of Marcus Aurelius's thought is the idea that nature has its own order, a pattern according to which everything functions. The seasons change, the sun rises and sets, rivers flow steadily to the sea. When we resist this natural process, stress builds within us. But when we understand and accept how things unfold, we find inner and outer peace. His words, "Accept whatever comes your way as part of your destiny," show us that life doesn't always turn out the way we want it to, but everything that happens can have a meaning. What does it mean to accept things as they are? It doesn't mean we should stop caring or trying to change anything. It means noticing what's happening and wisely considering how we respond. When we go with the world instead of fighting it, we can move through life calmly and strongly. Imagine the difficulties Marcus Aurelius endured: wars, illnesses, betrayals, and struggles for power. With so much suffering, he could easily have become angry or sad, but his stoic attitude helped him remain firm and honest. For him, difficulties were a natural part of life. He didn't simply endure them, he used them to grow, learn, and see things more clearly. Every moment, whether happy, sad, or just plain ordinary, was an opportunity for him to become wiser. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Stoicism teaches us to ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I become stronger and wiser as a result?" Marcus Aurelius urged us to live a life of meaning, honesty, and acceptance. He knew that life is short and we are only small parts of a vast universe. Therefore, every moment is precious, every difficulty can teach us something, and every joy is a gift to be savored. Accepting life as it is not giving up. It is embracing reality with courage and strength. The most beautiful thing about Marcus Aurelius's teachings is that they are practical. He didn't just talk about ideas, he lived them every day. His meditations reflect the thoughts of a man who tried to live his beliefs even in difficult times. In a world full of uncertainty, his calm wisdom reminds us that we may not be able to change everything that happens, but we can always choose how we respond. His philosophy encourages us to be true to ourselves, to live in harmony with nature, and to trust that it is right to accept things as they are. When we reflect on Marcus Aurelius's teachings, we begin to see our lives as part of a greater whole. Every experience, every difficulty, and every success is part of the story we are writing. When we understand that everything is connected and accept the natural flow of life, we find a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but comes from deep, abiding wisdom. There is pain in life, but suffering is a choice. Buddha. In ancient India, beneath the shade of the Bodhi tree, a great transformation occurred. A prince named Siddhartha Gautama left his palace in search of deeper truths. He eventually became enlightened and was given the name Buddha, the awakened one. His journey from a life of luxury to a simple existence brought about a powerful message that has shaped philosophy and spirituality for thousands of years. Buddha, the enlightened one, shared many teachings, including the Four Noble Truths. These truths are profound and practical, explaining why people suffer and how they can find their way out of it. The first truth, called dukkha, says that life brings pain, change, and challenges. This is not meant to be a negative view, but an honest one. Life contains loss and moments of dissatisfaction. The second truth, samudaya, shows that our suffering arises from wishing things were different. Our attachment to people, things, or desires causes frustration when reality is not as we hope. An important part of the teaching is recognizing that struggles are part of being human. How do we find peace then? Buddha taught us detachment. He said, "You only lose what you hold on to." That doesn't mean we shouldn't care. It means understanding that everything is impermanent. When we cling too tightly to people, things, or thoughts, we make ourselves vulnerable. Life is constantly changing, and when we accept that, we can move through life more easily. Imagine the ocean. If you try to hold on to every wave, you'll be swept away by the tide. But if you learn to move with the water, you can float, swim, and enjoy the rhythm without drowning. Letting go doesn't mean having no feelings, but seeing and feeling life clearly without being controlled by fear or loss. The Buddha's teachings show us how to live wisely, let go of what we cannot change, and find peace in the flow of life. The idea of letting go is closely related to accepting things as they are. When we understand that life is constantly changing and not always perfect, we can avoid the additional pain that comes from clinging too tightly to things we can't keep. This doesn't mean ignoring our feelings or pretending pain doesn't exist. Rather, it means allowing our feelings to come and go naturally without trying to hold on to them or preserve them forever. When Buddha talks about letting go, he reminds us that nothing stays the same forever. Holding on to things, be they objects, achievements, or people, is like trying to catch the wind with your hands. Everything changes over time. The more we fight it, the more it hurts. But when we let go mindfully, we can experience life fully. We can feel joy, love, and even sadness without fear or holding on being difficult. These thoughts lead us to the third and fourth noble truths, the end of suffering and the path to it. The third truth, called Nirodha, says that suffering can end if we let go of our strong attachments. The fourth truth, Magga, shows us how to achieve this by following the eightfold path. This path gives us clear steps for living wisely, acting kindly, and training our minds to find peace and understanding. Following this path means finding a balance between striving and letting go. It encourages us to live in the here and now, to participate in life without becoming too attached to any one moment. Embracing life doesn't mean giving up or simply doing nothing. It means seeing things clearly, without looking back or hoping that the future will be different. Buddha's teachings encourage us to ask ourselves where true happiness comes from, to examine our desires closely, and to remember that nothing lasts forever. When we understand this, we can live with peace and appreciation for the beauty of life, even when it's difficult at times. My secret for greatness is amor fati, that one wants nothing else, neither forward nor backward, not forever. Friedrich Nietzsche. Throughout history, many people have asked big questions about life, but few are as exciting and courageous as Friedrich Nietzsche. This German thinker questioned many things and looked at the world with a sharp mind. One of his most important ideas is called amor fati, which means love of fate. This is not just about accepting what happens, but embracing it wholeheartedly. For Nietzsche, life is not a carefully planned affair designed to bring only happiness and comfort. He saw life as a journey in which both happy and difficult moments are important. He once said, "I want to learn more and more to see what is necessary in things as beautiful. Then I will be one of those who make things beautiful." This means that instead of resisting what happens, we can find beauty in every experience, even the difficult ones. Life is like a great piece of music with high and low notes, fast and slow passages. If we were to leave out the difficult parts, the music would lose its depth and emotion. Nietzsche encourages us not only to accept challenges, but to see them as an important part of our story. He doesn't say to seek out suffering, but to see difficulties as opportunities to become stronger and wiser. Hard times teach us much. Loss shows us what is valuable, pain makes us more compassionate, and struggles help us become resilient. When Nietzsche speaks of loving fate, he invites us to understand how these experiences shape us. Instead of just enduring what is difficult, we can fully engage with these moments, knowing that they are helping us become better and wiser. In today's fast-paced world, where many seek instant happiness and easy comfort, Nietzsche's ideas are especially relevant. His philosophy teaches us to see obstacles not as problems, but as opportunities for growth. Instead of feeling defeated when things don't go our way, we can learn to see every experience, good or bad, as part of our life's journey. When we fully embrace life, we can live with more meaning and strength, appreciating both the good and the difficult moments that shape us. Alan Watts, a British philosopher with a mischievous smile, had a unique ability to connect different worlds. He combined the profound teachings of Eastern philosophy with the lucid thinking of the West. He made complex ideas easily understandable and brought mystical thoughts to life. With his vivid and clear language, Watts opened doors in the West to ideas that often seemed foreign there. But his goal wasn't just to explain ideas. Watts connected many philosophical strands into a larger whole that helped people, especially in the modern world, find answers. One of his most important ideas is the wisdom of uncertainty. This may sound strange at first, as we often value security, certainty, and reliability. How can wisdom arise from uncertainty? Watts said that the constant search for security and clinging to things that change is a delusion. This search is not only impossible, it also brings great suffering. He explained that life is always in flux, like a river that flows from moment to moment. When we try to hold on to a moment or stop change, we lose our rhythm with life. It's like trying to hold on to water with our bare hands. The tighter we grip, the more it slips through our fingers. Life is like this river, always moving. Trying to stop this flow is impossible and frustrating. When we seek security, we build up many thoughts, hopes, and ideas. But deep down, we know that nothing lasts. Watts explained that our pain often stems from the fact that life is constantly changing, but we want to hold on to something that will last. But he also offered a way out. Instead of fighting uncertainty, we should embrace it and learn to welcome the unknown and the fluid moments. This way, we can connect with the natural rhythm of life. As Watts said, the only way to make sense of change is to let yourself fall into it, swing with it, and dance its dance. This wisdom of uncertainty doesn't mean we should forget about the future or simply act haphazardly. It doesn't mean we shouldn't pay attention or plan. Rather, it invites us to live in the now and experience life without being smothered by fixed expectations. It's about discovering the freedom that lies in recognizing that security is only an idea and that there's a special beauty in life's constant change. Especially today, when so much is changing so quickly, Watts's thoughts are very important. Many fears arise from trying to control or predict the future. But as Watts explained, we find true peace when we let go of the need for control and see life not as a problem but as a great mystery to be experienced. He once said, "Suffering will always exist, but we should not suffer from suffering itself." This simple but profound message shows that when we accept the uncertain and dance with the flow of life, we feel not restlessness, but harmony, not sadness, but joy. As we reflect on these thoughts, we realize that true wisdom often emerges precisely where we least expect it, in the midst of uncertainty, when we embrace the unknown. There we find deeper understanding, rich experiences, and a life in tune with the true flow of the world. If we cannot change a situation, we must learn to change ourselves. Viktor Frankl. In the darkest moments of history, there were people who felt not only grief, but also hope and a deep understanding. One of these was Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist who survived the horrific camps of the Holocaust. From this difficult time, he gained insights into the meaning of life and developed a special kind of help called existential therapy. Frankl's story is not one of resignation, but of courage, determination, and the power of the human spirit. He wrote his famous book, Saying Yes to Life Anyway, in which he tells how people can find meaning in difficult times. An important idea of Frankl's is that no matter how hard life is, people can always find a reason to keep going. He said, "You can take everything away from me, but one thing: the freedom to choose my own attitude, to follow my own path in every situation." This freedom to discover meaning even in suffering shows how strong people can be. In the camps, people lost everything: their freedom, their dignity, their lives, seemingly without hope. Frankl observed that those who had a purpose persevered better than those who gave up everything. It wasn't about being physically stronger, but about remaining inwardly courageous and believing that life has meaning despite everything. This idea helps not only in times of extreme suffering, but also in the difficulties we face every day. Everyone has a special task, their own purpose. Suffering is part of life, says Frankl, but it is not the suffering itself that makes us sad, but the hopelessness. When we face problems, we can see them as meaningless or as an opportunity to learn and grow from them. The point is not to avoid pain, but to understand it and use it meaningfully. Even if death confronts us daily, as Frankl experienced in the camps, life can still have meaning. Every moment, every encounter, and even every loss can carry meaning. He wrote, "Life becomes meaningful not only through an act, a work, or an experience, but also through the encounter with a person. To meet that person with love is meaning, And when we are confronted with a fate we cannot change, like a serious illness, there is still the highest possibility of creating meaning. Then we are called to show what humanity is capable of, transforming adversity into strength, tragedy into victory. Frankl's therapy, logotherapy, comes from the Greek word logos, meaning meaning. Unlike therapies that focus on pleasure or power, this therapy addresses the human desire to give meaning to one's life. Often it's not the difficulties themselves that burden us, but the feeling that they have no meaning. In our time, which brings with it many challenges and worries, Frankl's thoughts remain relevant. Whether we are losing a loved one, experiencing a difficult breakup, or searching for our own identity and life's purpose, the question of meaning is always important. Viktor Frankl shows us through his own difficult experiences that we should not view difficulties as foreign or inappropriate, but as an important part of our life's journey. His life and his teachings remind us that we can find meaning even in dark times. If we embrace Frankl's thoughts, we can feel comfort and strength. They remind us that our life, with all that it brings, is never without meaning. Every experience, every pain, every laughter helps us to understand life better, to grow and to find our purpose. Frankl's message is both timeless and powerful. Life, with all its facets, has meaning. We only need to pause amidst the hustle and bustle and listen deeply within ourselves to discover our own personal meaning. As Frankl so wisely said, if we can no longer change a situation, then we must learn to change ourselves. On our journey to explore different worlds of thought, we encounter many wise people, each with their own perspective on the topic of acceptance. Epicurus and the Stoic discipline show us the peace we find when we understand what we can and cannot control. Laozi, with the gentle teachings of Taoism, invites us to go with the flow of life and see the beauty that arises when we let things happen. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor and philosopher, teaches us the importance of living in harmony with nature and respecting every aspect of life. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, helps us understand that freedom comes from accepting pain and challenges. Alan Watts, who combines Eastern and Western thought, shows us how to accept uncertainty and encourages us to embrace the flow of life. And Viktor Frankl brings a message of hope from the depths of suffering, showing us that the human spirit can always discover meaning, even in the greatest despair. This collection of wisdom from different times, cultures, and life experiences reveals an important truth. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It is a conscious and active decision to accept life as it is, to find meaning in things big and small, and to face difficulties with understanding rather than resistance. Practicing acceptance is not just a mental exercise, it is something that is crucial to our well-being. In every surprise that life brings us, in every unexpected turn, lies the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to come closer to who we truly are. Acceptance does not make problems disappear, but it gives us the strength to face them with courage, wisdom, and serenity. Dear readers, as you continue to ponder these thoughts, I invite you to pause for a moment and consider your own life journey, the happy moments, the dark times, and the recurring experiences. Where can you show more acceptance? Which parts of your story can you see not as obstacles, but as important building blocks of your personality? Remember, every great thinker was once on a similar path, searching, questioning, and learning. You too can turn challenges into lessons and find wisdom in life's twists and turns. Open your heart to discover more acceptance in places where you might feel resistance. In doing so, you will experience a deeper connection to the beautiful, often complicated dance of life. Embrace it, appreciate it, and remember, every moment can teach us something valuable. Now imagine you have a treasure so great that even the richest people in the world would be poor in comparison. But this treasure isn't about money or gold. It's something far more valuable, a treasure that people have been seeking for thousands of years, but which is accessible to each and every one of us. This is a new way of thinking about wealth, inspired by Stoic philosophy. Today we're talking about a topic that touches us all, even if we may not always feel it: wealth. And it's not just about money. It's about a broader view of wealth that goes far beyond material things, an idea that is deeply ingrained in our thinking and influences our decisions, our behavior, and even our happiness. The big question is, can the ancient wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy more than 2,000 years old, help us understand and find true wealth in today's very different world? Before we get started, let's take a moment to consider why this topic is so important today. We live in a world where we hear about self-made billionaires, rising stock markets, cryptocurrencies, and many ways to make money. Yet, despite these opportunities, many people still struggle financially. The gap between rich and poor is widening, and worries about money are ever present. Even people with money often feel anxious or dissatisfied. Something is missing in the way we think about wealth, and this missing piece affects not only our finances, but also our hearts and minds. In this video, we'll explore this missing element and explore how Stoicism can help us better understand and truly attain wealth. Stoicism is a philosophical movement that originated in ancient Greece and was further developed by thinkers such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. Many people are already familiar with some of its core ideas: thinking clearly, knowing what we can and cannot control, and practicing virtues such as courage, wisdom, justice, and self-discipline. Stoicism shows us how to live a virtuous life with inner strength. But can it also help us overcome today's challenges surrounding earning money and building wealth? Is it possible to combine the Stoic goal of inner peace with the desire for financial success and security? Can we combine Stoic virtues with modern methods of managing money and investing? We want to explore these fascinating questions together to discover what a Stoic path to true prosperity might look like. When we think about wealth from the Stoic perspective, it's not just about accumulating a lot of money or possessions. Wealth encompasses many areas of our lives: friendships, joy, and even inner peace. This kind of wealth is long-lasting, diverse, and attainable for everyone, regardless of their current status. If you've ever felt like there's a deeper, more fulfilling way to understand wealth, or if you're curious about how Stoic thought can touch other aspects of your life, then read on. We're about to embark on a journey that will change the way you view money, success, and happiness. But beware, the road isn't easy. We'll explore ideas that might challenge your previous notions of wealth. If you're open to reshaping your view of wealth and exploring how philosophy and money are connected, you've come to the right place. Grab a pen and paper, get ready, and let's discover together how Stoicism shows us what true wealth means. Look forward to an experience that can change your perspective on wealth, joy, and success forever. When we think of wealth today, we often think of expensive cars, big houses, fancy clothes, and faraway trips. Wealth seems to be just the accumulation of things we accumulate in life. But let's pause for a moment and ask, what does wealth really mean? How would you describe it? Everyone probably has a different answer, and therein lies the problem. Everyone sees wealth from their own perspective. So let's take a closer look. How did the Stoics understand wealth? To understand their perspective, we need to think about wealth more broadly, beyond material things. For the Stoics, there are two kinds of wealth: material and immaterial. Material wealth includes things you can touch and own: money, houses, anything material. That's the kind of wealth many people strive for, and that's fine. The Stoics didn't think material possessions were bad. They can help us and solve some problems. It's only natural for people to want comfort and security. But the Stoics were primarily interested in true wealth, the inner treasure of the soul. This wealth consists of virtues, wisdom, inner peace, and emotional strength. Seneca, a Roman thinker, said that no one can take this treasure away from us. It remains safe, regardless of whether money is lost, political battles rage, or natural disasters occur. In his writings, Seneca explains that this inner wealth gives us true freedom and genuine happiness. Material goods can be stolen, expire, or lose their value. But virtues such as wisdom, courage, and justice remain and never lose their importance. Why do the Stoics say that this inner wealth is more important than material possessions? They believe that the quality of our lives depends not on what's happening outside, but on what's going on inside us. Our thoughts, decisions and reactions determine how we experience life. Marcus Aurelius, another Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." This means that true wealth begins in the soul. This inner treasure helps us better cope with life's chaos and makes us stronger, so we're less easily swept away by the good and bad things happening around us. This is especially important considering how fickle material wealth can be. Just think of people who suddenly lose everything because of scandals or bad decisions. On the other hand, there are people who may have little money but live lives full of love, joy, and meaning. This is the wealth of the soul at work. Epictetus, a philosopher who was born a slave and later became free, said, "We cannot choose what happens to us externally, but we can always determine how we react to it." He meant that we cannot always control our money or our things, but we can control our inner wealth. That is, how we think and feel. You may be wondering how this idea fits today when we have to pay bills, provide for our families, and pursue our dreams. Isn't it unrealistic to focus on inner wealth when we have so many practical tasks? The answer lies in the balance taught by Stoicism. Stoicism doesn't say money is bad. It just reminds us not to let it control us or believe it makes us who we are. Problems arise when we become obsessed with money and possessions, allowing them to destroy our inner peace or distance us from our values. Stoicism teaches that we can pursue material wealth, but only as a tool to achieve our goals, not as the ultimate goal itself. For the Stoics, wealth isn't about choosing money or virtue, but rather combining the two and using wisdom and courage to overcome the challenges of earning money. When we understand wealth in this way, we gain a much deeper understanding. We are encouraged not only to focus on money, but also to cultivate our inner self and create a life rich in joy, stability, and meaning. As we proceed, we will see how Stoic wisdom helps us build both types of wealth, material and inner, and thus live a truly fulfilling life. Now that we know how the Stoics view wealth, let's turn to an important part of their philosophy: the four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. How can these four virtues help us not only become rich internally, but also manage money well? Let's start with wisdom. Stoic wisdom means knowing what we can and cannot control. We understand the world around us and make decisions based on this knowledge. How does wisdom help with money matters like saving or investing? Wisdom means managing money well. A wise person knows how to budget, save, invest wisely, and use their resources wisely. Just as an experienced captain knows when to set sail or when to stay in port, a wise investor knows when to invest money or when to exercise caution. Wisdom comes from knowledge of the economy, people and ourselves, our limitations, opportunities, and goals. It helps us make decisions that bring real prosperity in the long run and allows us to better ignore the many distractions and pressures around us. Now let's talk about courage. In Stoicism, courage is not just physical bravery, but also the inner strength to face challenges, overcome fear, and live according to one's values. How can courage help with money and finances? Finances are often uncertain and risky. Whether starting a business or investing in stocks, courage gives us the drive to take smart risks. It helps us invest money even when others are afraid, or stick to plans when things don't go our way. Courage makes it possible to think differently than the masses, who often make unwise financial decisions. But courage without wisdom would be dangerous. Stoic courage means making bold decisions when reason tells us it's right, even when it's difficult. Let's move on to justice, the third virtue of the Stoics. Justice means fairness, equal treatment, and striving for the well-being of all. How does justice fit into the world of money and wealth? When it's all about making money, we often forget to act fairly. But honest and fair decisions in financial matters not only protect your reputation, but also ensure that your wealth grows in the long term. Honest companies attract loyal customers, strong teams, and good partnerships. Investing in companies that act fairly and responsibly can also be better in the long run. Those who act fairly are also spared problems like disputes or lawsuits, which can be expensive. So if you are always honest, treat others well, and deliver quality, You will build a company or a path that will last a long time. Finally, let's look at temperance. Temperance means controlling yourself, not wanting too much, and curbing impulses. How does temperance help us in a world that constantly tempts us to spend more? Temperance prevents us from buying things we don't need or from making risky financial decisions that could land us in debt. It teaches us to make do with what we have and to save for later. In investing, temperance means not chasing every quick opportunity, but sticking to a good plan. In everyday life, it helps us recognize the difference between real needs and mere desires, allowing us to allocate our money wisely over time. These wise decisions bring not only money, but also inner peace and security. The four Stoic virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, are not just rules for a good life, but also practical tools for creating and maintaining wealth. Those who adhere to them build a stable foundation for money and spirit. This creates a path to prosperity that can withstand difficult times. Remember, the Stoics weren't against money. They just didn't want us to blindly chase it or mishandle it. If we allow ourselves to be guided by these virtues, we are on the path to true wealth that fills our hearts and minds, not just our wallets. Now that we've seen how the Stoic virtues help us become rich inside and out, we come to an important question that many wrestle with. Is money evil? According to Stoic teachings, the answer is no. Money in itself is neither good nor bad. In Stoicism, money is called indifferent, meaning it has no intrinsic value for our happiness. What matters is how we handle money, how we earn it, spend it, and how it affects our lives. In this section, we'll look at how the Stoics explain that money isn't bad, but our love of money can harm us. You may have heard the saying, "The love of money is the root of all evil." The Stoics warn against becoming too attached to money. When money becomes our primary goal instead of just a tool to achieve our goals, we are heading down a dangerous path. Stoicism advises maintaining a healthy distance from possessions, including money. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't care about money, but rather that we shouldn't make our happiness or worth dependent on it. If we believe that success or happiness depends on how much money we have, we will constantly be anxious, greedy, and never satisfied. This excessive attachment to money can blind us to what really matters and lead us to make bad decisions that we later regret. Seneca warned us that an overly obsessive attachment to money is a dangerous trap that can ensnare us with greed, a force that can harm us. Money in itself isn't evil, but it can be used for good or bad purposes. How we use our money reveals who we truly are and the values we hold dear. For example, it's a good thing to use money to provide for our families, pay for an education, help people in need, or support projects that improve our world. Such actions demonstrate wisdom, knowing how to use money wisely, justice, spending that benefits others and is fair, and temperance, spending in moderation and controlling our desires. The situation is different when money is used to deceive, harm, or exploit others for one's own benefit. Accumulating wealth just to have more, living luxuriously without considering the needs of others, or indulging in bad habits that harm the soul are examples of mishandling money. Today, Stoic teachings encourage us to invest ethically and be responsible entrepreneurs. As we have already discussed, the Stoic virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance help us make good decisions when it comes to money. For example, a responsible investor conducts thorough research before investing money, has the courage to believe in a good cause even if it is not currently popular, demonstrates justice by supporting companies that benefit society, and maintains temperance by not being carried away by the emotions of the stock market. Similarly, an entrepreneur who lives by Stoic principles would run their business with strong ethical principles, focused on profit, but also on positive influence. This path is not only honorable, but also wise. Companies that act fairly and support society have a better chance of winning customers and surviving even difficult times. Stoicism sees money as a tool, something we can use for good or ill. What matters is not the money itself, but how we think about it, earn it, and use it. For the Stoics, the pursuit of wealth only becomes virtuous when it is accompanied by wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. In this way, money becomes the means by which we create a meaningful and good life, rather than the source of problems. Now that we know how the Stoic virtues can help us use money wisely and understand that money is neither good nor bad by nature, let's look at an intriguing example: Seneca the Younger. Seneca was a Roman philosopher, statesman, and writer who was also extremely wealthy. His life shows us in a unique way how to combine Stoic ideas with great wealth. How did Seneca reconcile his vast wealth with his Stoic beliefs? Let's take a closer look at the paradox of Seneca, the wealthy Stoic. A bit of history. Seneca lived in Rome from about 4 BC to 65 AD. He was not only a philosopher, but also an advisor to Emperor Nero. Seneca was very wealthy and owned large tracts of land and many estates, even by today's standards. It's important to note that much of his wealth came from the political entanglements of his time, and that his wealth was tied to difficult moral issues. For example, he was later forced by Nero to take his own life. Seneca believed that wealth in itself is neither good nor bad. This fits perfectly with Stoic philosophy. He said that external things like money do not determine a person's character. Seneca sees the problem not in the possession of money, but in the constant desire for more. His famous quote is, "The poor is not he who has little, but he who desires more." For the Stoics, what matters most is how someone thinks about money, how they earn it, how they spend it, and whether they make their happiness dependent on it. In many of Seneca's writings, he emphasized that virtue should be the most important goal. He wrote, "No person can lead a happy, or at least a tolerable life without learning wisdom." Although Seneca was very wealthy, he practiced philosophical exercises, such as fasting and other forms of self-control, to remind himself that he could be content with less. He learned not to become attached to his possessions, even as he enjoyed them. Seneca knew full well that wealth brings power and responsibility, and he understood that money can be used for good or bad. It appears that Seneca tried to use his wealth in a way that aligns with his Stoic values. Some believe he spent money on public projects, art and social or spiritual endeavors, because he saw his wealth as an opportunity to magnify his ideals. Seneca said we should direct our lives with wise planning and a purpose. His handling of money demonstrates just that. He relied on deliberate plans and deliberate action. But it would be wrong to ignore the difficulties surrounding Seneca's wealth. Some say he gained much of his wealth through his proximity to Nero, a brutal ruler, and through loans in Britain that made life difficult for many people. How does this fit with Stoic values? It's hard to say that it's entirely true. Yet Seneca was aware of his faults. In his letters he wrote that he was not a perfect Stoic, but a person on the path to wisdom who faced his own problems in order to learn from them. Seneca's life is a great example of the complicated relationship between Stoicism and wealth. He shows us that Stoicism isn't about loving money or possessions, but rather focusing on virtue, the most important thing in life. At the same time, his life demonstrates that money and power bring difficult questions and decisions. Seneca's story doesn't give us easy answers, but reminds us to continually examine what is right and wrong. It proves that you can be wealthy and still maintain your values, as long as you use your wealth in a way that is consistent with the Stoic virtues. Seneca's life serves as both a model and a warning for us. It invites us to reflect on our own values, decisions, and goals, especially in a world where money, power, and morality often compete with one another. An important idea in Stoicism is the distinction between what we can influence and what is beyond our control. Epictetus, another Stoic, stated this quite clearly. We cannot determine what happens around us, but we can control how we respond to it. But there is one difficulty. If you have been trying for a long time to break away from the crowd and think differently, but have not been able to, there could be many reasons for this, often without you realizing it. But I know the reason. It is fear. Fear sneaks up on you like a snake and slowly poisons you without you noticing. It can hold you captive for days, months, or even years. And if you live like this, it is as if you were sick inside. But there is an antidote that the Stoics discovered long ago, and that modern psychology also confirms. It can free you from this fear, just as it freed me. I made a video in which I show you how to free yourself from this toxic feeling. The link is in the first comment. Click on it and find your way out of fear. But how does this ancient idea help us when it comes to earning and managing money? How can it support us in our desire for financial freedom? The most important thing is to divide our worries into two groups, those we can control and those we cannot. This sounds simple, but it has major consequences for our mental and financial well-being. For the Stoics, it is clear. We can only control our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. What the economy does, how the market develops, or what others think of us is beyond our control. If we focus on what we can actually change, we save ourselves a lot of stress and grief that comes from worrying about things beyond our control. In this way, we learn to recognize the valuable within ourselves and not to cling to external things that can be taken away from us at any time. This division of control shows us what we should pay attention to in the pursuit of wealth. This includes our knowledge, our skills, our attitude toward work, and how we handle money. These are important building blocks when it comes to making money. In business, there are many things we can't control, such as how many customers there are, how strong the competition is, or how the economy changes. But you can control how good your product is, how you plan your business, and whether you act honestly and fairly. If your business fails for reasons beyond your control, Stoicism advises thinking about what you can learn from it and not simply giving up or getting angry. This principle also helps you manage the money you have. The stock market is often unpredictable and can change quickly, for example, due to political decisions or natural disasters. You can't control how the market moves, but you can decide how broadly your investments are diversified, how calmly you react to changes, and how wisely you spend your money. By focusing on these things, you can reduce the risk you take. But it's not just about what we can do. Controlling our emotions is also important. People often allow strong emotions like fear or greed to guide them when making financial decisions. This leads to hasty decisions that later harm them or do not fit their goals. Stoicism teaches us to separate our feelings from our actions so that we can make wiser decisions. Some people feel powerless when the economy is doing poorly. The Stoics advise embracing reality and focusing on the things we can influence. This might mean cutting out unnecessary spending, learning new skills, or taking time to reflect on what really matters in life. Stoic wisdom helps us find inner wealth, even when external prosperity seems elusive. When we practice the idea of control, we not only become better at managing money, but also stronger and more relaxed when faced with the difficulties life brings. We look inward at everything we can influence and don't allow ourselves to be paralyzed by worries we can't change. This doesn't mean we ignore the world. Rather, we face it with courage and reason, making the best decisions on our path to greater happiness and success. We've learned a lot about how Stoicism deals with wealth, from having the right attitude to distinguishing it from control. But where does happiness fit into this? At first glance, you might think it means being content with what you have, and therefore no longer pursuing goals. But Stoicism shows us that happiness and ambition can go hand in hand. Happiness doesn't mean giving up on your dreams, but rather finding peace with what you have and still striving forward. The Stoic concept of happiness means focusing on your inner world and your values, on what we can determine for ourselves. We don't have to settle for mediocrity, but rather detach our happiness from what others think of us. This creates a strong inner foundation that protects us when life's ups and downs. The Roman emperor and Stoic Marcus Aurelius once said, "For a happy life you need very little. Everything lies within you in your way of thinking." This does not mean that we should become lazy or not make an effort, but that we should value the journey itself and not just the destination. But doesn't contentment keep us from being ambitious? Not at all. When we are content with what we have, we create a clear mind for our goals. Stoic happiness gives us the freedom to pursue our ambition with clarity. When we stop constantly wanting more, our ambition becomes genuine, driven by the desire to do good, not by envy or fear. Let's look at this with money. If you want to achieve financial freedom, you may often think about how you have to keep track of every penny, which can make you feel stressed until you reach your goal. However, Stoic philosophy shows us that we can pursue our money goals calmly and with a clear head if we learn to be grateful for what we have now. A Stoic would see things differently. For them, it's right and good to strive for financial freedom, but never at the expense of our well-being. Instead of always rushing around, we can appreciate where we are and work toward our goals with considered small steps. You can make your plan, invest your money wisely, and improve your skills without stressing yourself out too much. Why? Because happiness doesn't depend on how much money you have. A balance between inner peace and outer possessions, between what we have and what fulfills us, is the key to remaining content and motivated at the same time. That's the heart of Stoicism, finding that balance. It gives you the strength in your mind and heart to pursue wealth without letting money dictate your life. Wealth thus becomes a tool for a greater goal, not the goal itself. The Stoic attitude toward happiness protects you from life's ups and downs and the unexpected twists of fate. It gives you the inner strength to pursue your goals, such as financial success, calmly and with focus. In Stoicism, happiness and ambition go hand in hand. They support each other. This allows you to live a balanced life in which success and personal growth go hand in hand. Happiness is the foundation upon which you can build your goals, not just financial success, but a fulfilling life overall. We've already discussed Stoic ideas like luck, control, and other important principles that illustrate how the Stoics view prosperity. Now let's look at how we can apply these ideas to everyday life, for example, when making financial decisions, without losing sight of Stoic values. What practical things can we do? Let's discover some Stoically inspired money management tips, from the value of frugality to wise planning for the future. Contentment, the Stoic path to a simple life. Being frugal is one of the best ways you can apply Stoic philosophy to your money. The Stoics teach us to live in harmony with nature and to focus on what we truly need, not just what we wish we had. Frugality doesn't mean denying ourselves everything, but rather cutting out unnecessary things to make room for what truly adds value to our lives. This can greatly improve your finances. Think about how much money you can save by ordering out less often or canceling subscriptions you rarely use. Small savings like these can add up to big benefits over time and help reduce money worries. It's not about saving at all costs, but making the most of what you have. That's very much in the spirit of the Stoics. Stoicism thinks not only about the present, but also about the future. Therefore, it encourages us to be wise and forward-looking in our financial planning. This means setting aside money for later, building up an emergency fund, and managing our money responsibly. The Stoic path teaches self-discipline, foresight, and the ability to resist giving in to every temptation. In this way, we use common sense to ensure our future prosperity. This is a wise blend of Stoic values and practical money management. Avoiding debt. What Stoicism says about it. Another area where the Stoics can help us is debt. They teach us to protect our freedom and not depend on others. Having too much debt is like being imprisoned because it restricts us and forces us to make decisions that aren't entirely our own. Of course, not all debt is bad. For example, a mortgage can be sensible. But the Stoics advise being cautious and not getting into too much debt. This is good advice in a world where many people spend more than they have. If you avoid unnecessary debt and pay off outstanding loans promptly, you'll not only be using your money wisely, but you'll also regain your freedom, or so the Stoic teachings say. Investing responsibly, doing good, and acting wisely. Now let's talk about investments. Stoicism places great emphasis on doing the right thing and acting responsibly towards others. Therefore, it only makes sense to consider morality when investing. Investing in sustainable projects, such as funds that respect the environment and social issues, fits well with Stoic principles. This way you can not only earn money but also make a positive contribution to the world. These are just a few examples of how Stoicism can guide your financial decisions, living frugally, planning for the long term, avoiding debt, and investing ethically. These aren't just good habits, they're Stoic virtues that help you live a rich life based not only on money, but also on your character and inner well-being. By incorporating these values into your financial planning, you can manage your money holistically. It's not just about money, but about maintaining a balance between finances, morals, and emotions. Stoic teachings have proven their worth over many years and remain vital today because they help us navigate life successfully. They show us how to build lasting wealth and find true happiness. Those who apply Stoic financial principles can not only survive in the world of money, but truly succeed with wise decisions and strong values. Stoicism gives us valuable tips on how to manage our money well in today's fast-paced and often chaotic world. Nowadays, there are many new ways to earn or lose money, such as through startups, digital currencies, or the volatile stock market. This raises the question, do the ancient Stoic values fit with modern ideas of wealth and success, or do they contradict each other? Let's take a closer look at the differences between classical Stoic ideas and today's ideas about money and success. In our time, many people strive for a lot of money, social prestige, and quick rewards. This can sometimes contradict traditional Stoic values, such as wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation. Today, wealth, bold decisions, rapid growth, and money are often seen as signs of success. But Stoicism shows us the importance of finding the right balance, mastering oneself, and living honestly. Although this may seem contradictory at first, these ideas can be easily combined. Many successful people today even act quite stoically, even if they are unfamiliar with the term. In today's working world, courage, fairness, and self-discipline are important qualities that fit perfectly with Stoicism and lead to success. Startups are often compared to a roller coaster because they have great highs but also severe lows. Stoic balance helps a lot in such moments. Successful founders focus on what they can influence, for example, the quality of their products, fair treatment of others, and the well-being of their employees. Courage to take wise risks, wisdom to change course in a timely manner, and fairness to create a company that not only makes money but also helps the community. All of these are Stoic values that support people in this often uncertain environment. Stoic principles provide stability, no matter what challenges arise. In the world of startups, people often work very hard, and ambition knows no bounds. The Stoic attitude, on the other hand, says it's better to have a balanced and sustainable life and career. That is, to focus not only on money, but also on honesty and values. Stoicism shows ways to remain mentally strong and economically stable in a rapidly changing financial world. When the economy falters, the market falls, or there are money problems, Stoicism advises focusing on what you can control. It encourages you to be cautious without fear, to take wise risks without being reckless, and to accept change without chasing every trend. In this way, Stoic wisdom helps you stay calm and firmly grounded in the hectic world of money. Surprisingly, the Stoic principles of that time still apply very well to the complexities of money management today. They offer a balanced path to success while maintaining patience and common sense. In the fast-paced world of startups, digital currencies, and financial trends, Stoic values help us focus on what's truly important when pursuing wealth. When we understand how Stoicism fits with modern investing, we find a balance between the desire to become rich and adhering to our values, feelings, and beliefs. This is what the Stoic approach to today's financial world looks like. It calls not for greedy desire or passivity, but for a wise, honest, and balanced pursuit of wealth in all its forms. Ultimately, it becomes clear, the Stoic view of wealth is just as meaningful today as it was in the past. Stoicism doesn't reject money, but rather places it within a larger picture, namely, that of personal happiness. Stoic wealth doesn't mean extreme restraint or unbridled greed, but rather a balanced path where money, morality, and inner contentment grow together. Stoic wisdom helps us recognize what is right and wrong in the fast-paced world of startups, cryptocurrencies, and volatile markets. Learning to become wealthy is a skill just like everything else in life. In doing so, we should develop qualities such as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control, taking responsibility for what we can control and remaining calm when things change. That is the message of Stoicism. Stoicism and prosperity are not contradictory. Those who truly want to be happy and rich must always combine their desires with Stoic values. We have seen how ancient teachings about inner wealth fit into modern financial planning, risk-taking, and investing. Stoic philosophy can help us live a life characterized not only by money, but also by virtue, contentment, and inner peace. Epictetus, a famous Stoic, once said, "Wealth is not having many things, but having few desires." This thought is timeless and shows us what true wealth means. It combines money with wisdom and good values. Thus, we can enrich our lives in ways that bring not only money, but also deep contentment and meaning. Imagine you could have a conversation with a wise person from ancient times, a philosopher, politician, or writer who had experienced great power, but also hardship and exile. Their wisdom could transform the way we think today. How valuable would it be to hear their advice for just an hour? The good news, you don't have to just imagine it, because now we're going to read letters from Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers from ancient Rome. Seneca didn't just sit around and think. He was in the thick of life, involved in politics, giving advice to important people, and experiencing the highs and lows of public life. His thoughts about people and life come from his own experiences and are therefore still very valuable today, even though they are almost 2,000 years old. Seneca's letters to his friend Lucilius are among the most important writings in philosophy. In them, Seneca shares wise advice on topics such as sadness, courage, personal growth, and proper behavior. Today we look at 7 of his most significant letters. Each contains tips and insights that can help us better understand life and become happier. Let's embark on this journey and discover how these letters can change our lives. Stay as you are, my dear Lucilius. Take the time to help yourself. Guard your time well, for it is often stolen from us. We lose it, or simply waste it. Believe me, it's true. Sometimes someone else steals our time, sometimes it slowly slips away from us, and sometimes we lose it ourselves because we are lazy. Laziness is the worst danger. If we look closely, we realize that we spend a lot of time on unimportant things. A large part of it is simply lost, the rest is spent on things that hardly help us. Do you know anyone who truly appreciates every moment, who knows how precious each day is, and realizes that every day brings them a little closer to death? It is wrong to see death only as something in the future. In truth, it has already taken many years that lie behind us. They already belong to it. Therefore, Lucilius, follow your own advice. Seize every moment you have, do what matters today, and you'll have less to worry about tomorrow. Life passes quickly when we keep putting things off. Our time is the most precious thing we possess. Nature gives us this time, but it is short and can be taken away at any time. How foolish people are. They don't even realize they possess something as precious as time. They are happy to spend their money on small things that can be returned, but time can never be taken back, no matter how grateful one might be. You may be wondering how I can improve myself even though I give advice to others. I'll be honest, I manage my time carefully, but I'm not perfect. I know exactly where I waste time, why that is, and why I don't have more as a result. This is the case for many people who, through no fault of their own, have little time. Many understand this, but no one really helps, so what's the solution? I don't believe someone is truly poor if what little they have is enough. The important thing is to hold on to what you have and never start too late. Our ancestors said that you can't save when you've already hit rock bottom, but what's left is always small and often worthless. Keep doing what you're doing and do it as quickly as possible so that your mind will remain calm and peaceful longer. You will certainly enjoy the time you spend strengthening and calming your mind. The joy of a clear, strong mind is far greater than all other joys. Of course, you remember how happy you were when you took off your child's clothes and put on a man's toga to enter the great hall. But when you are grown and wise, the joy is even greater. You will feel that we remember not only being children, but often how childish we sometimes behaved. This is worse because although we gain more wisdom with age, we also carry the stupidity of our childhood with us. Children are often afraid of small things. Shadows frighten them, and we all experience such fears. But if we are brave and face them, many fears quickly lose their power. Think of the fate you've been battling with for so long. Believe me, from the moment you're born, you're moving toward this end. We must reflect on such thoughts if we want to remain calm and accept our final hour. The fear of death makes all other hours uncertain. Now I must end my letter. I would like to tell you something beautiful that I read today. Poverty, when you live in harmony with nature, is true wealth. Do you know what limits these natural dictates set? Quite simply, you should avoid hunger, thirst, and cold. To overcome hunger and thirst, you don't have to seek favor from the rich or bow down to them. You don't have to sail the seas or wage war. Basic needs are simple and always there. It's the many extra things we don't actually need that tire us, make us look old, and drive us to distant lands. What is truly enough lies right in front of us. Whoever makes peace with poverty is truly rich. I feel, dear Lucilius, that I'm not only getting better, but also changing internally. Nevertheless, I can't claim I've completely transformed, and I know I still have a lot to work on. Many areas within me need to become stronger, simpler, or clearer. The fact that I can see this shows that my mind has already improved. It's like congratulating a sick person who has realized what's wrong with them. So I'd like to share with you this new insight within me. I now want to place great trust in our friendship. A true friendship that knows no fear, has no expectations, and cannot be destroyed by self-interest. Such a friendship is so strong that people would even give their lives for it. Many may have a friend, but few possess such a true friendship. This only develops when two people share the same values and pursue honest goals together. Why is that? Because in such friendships, everything is shared, especially the difficult times. You can hardly imagine how much I learn every day, and if you say, "Tell me about the things that have helped you so much," then I'd love to share them with you. I enjoy learning so I can teach others. Nothing makes me happier than sharing good things with others. If someone offered me wisdom but I wasn't allowed to share it, I would refuse. Because no good thing brings real joy if you keep it to yourself. I'll send you the books that have helped me the most, and I'll mark the passages I find most valuable to save you time. But the spoken word and shared life help you much more than just reading. You have to go where things are happening. People are more likely to believe what they see than what they hear, and it is much easier to learn by example than by rules alone. Cleanthes would not have understood Zeno if he had only listened to his lectures. He learned by living with him, observing his actions and discerning his true intentions. Likewise, great thinkers like Plato and Aristotle learned more from the character of Socrates than from his words. Epicurus not only taught in the classroom, but lived under the same roof as his students, which shaped them into great men. So I ask you, don't just learn from me, but also share with me, because that way we can help each other grow. And I owe you my little thoughts for each day. Today I want to share something from Herodotus that has inspired me greatly. How have I improved? I have begun to be my own friend. That is a great gift. Those who are like that are never lonely because they are at peace with themselves, and then with others too. It's December, but the city is so lively, as if this month were something special, almost as if it were a whole year in one. If you were here with me, I would ask you what we should do. Stick to our normal daily routine or adapt to the festive spirit of the people. In the past, we Romans only changed the way we celebrated in difficult times, but today we seem to be different. Knowing you, you would say that we should neither behave completely like everyone else, nor stand out completely. Perhaps it is especially important now to teach our souls to be different, especially when everyone else is celebrating. This is the greatest test for man, to resist when luxury beckons while everyone else follows. It takes courage to remain sober and clear-headed when others are lost. But it takes even more courage not to set ourselves apart too much, but to participate in a way that is not noticeable. one can also celebrate without excess. I want, my friend, to challenge your inner strength. Drawing on the wisdom of great philosophers and leaders, I now give you a challenge. Set aside a specific time in which you will intentionally restrict yourself. Live simply. Eat the plainest and cheapest food, wear the simplest clothing, and ask yourself, is this really as bad as I thought? If the world is being kind to you right now, your soul should begin preparing for difficult times. Like a soldier who trains without fighting, you too must strengthen yourself before life tests you. This practice of simplicity will help you build the mental muscle you need to overcome difficulties. The great men in history whom I admire knew the power of this practice. They didn't wait for hardship to strike, but deliberately sought simplicity, sometimes to the point of discomfort. They lived modestly every month, sometimes almost on the brink of scarcity, so that when real hardship struck, they would be prepared. They practiced their strength in the calm before the storm. Perhaps you're thinking I want you to live like Timon of Athens or live in a cold hut to prove a point. That's not the point. I just want to advise you, let your bed be simple, your coat worn, your bread hard. Don't be afraid of discomfort. Endure this for 3 or 4 days, perhaps longer, so that it becomes a true test of your strength and not a mere game. If you do this, dear Lucilius, you will find joy in the simplest foods. A piece of bread, a small piece of food, and realize something great. True inner peace does not depend on the ways of fate. Even in difficult times, it can take little from you, but the most important thing always remains with you. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this will make you a hero. It's not a great feat. Many poor people and slaves endure such things every day, but you can be proud of this. You're doing it willingly, not because you have to. You're learning that a simple and humble life is nothing to be afraid of and nothing to flee from. If you practice this now, you'll discover that you can live this way anytime, not because you're forced to, but because you want to. Then you'll have made a friendship with poverty, a bond that prepares you for whatever may come. The more familiar you are with it, the less power poverty will have over you when it comes. Even Epicurus, the philosopher known for his teachings on happiness through pleasure, knew the importance of moderation. He sometimes deliberately abstained from eating a large amount of food to see if he could be content without much indulgence. He wanted to know if one could be happy in simplicity, even with very little. He proudly recounted how he got by on less than a penny of food, while his friend Metrodorus, who was not as experienced, needed a whole penny. Nevertheless, both enjoyed their simple meal, not just briefly and superficially, but with a deep and solid contentment. For Epicurus, the joy of being able to live on so little was far more valuable than a grand feast. It was a sign of true happiness, a happiness that no hardship or misfortune could destroy. How strong must a person be to voluntarily endure such deprivation, to live in a condition that not even many who suffer severe punishments could endure? This is more than just suffering. It is a preparation for the difficult times that come in life. If you choose to live this way, even for brief moments, then your soul will become strong and ready for the challenges that fate may bring. Therefore, my dear friend Lucilius, I would like to ask you to try this. Choose days on which you forego your usual comforts and live with very simple things. The greatest wisdom comes not from just reading about these ideas, but from actually living this way. Get used to a little discomfort. In doing so, you will realize that while wealth is beautiful, you should not be at its mercy. You have to get to a point where you have possessions, but are not dependent on them. True security comes when you know that you can live contentedly with or without wealth, because wealth comes and goes, but your inner peace is your most precious treasure. Before I end this letter, I want to say something important to you. Take care of your responsibilities. Pay your debts. You'll see how much lighter your heart will be, and how much more control you'll have over your life. This is an important lesson from Epicurus, a reminder that we can't always change life, but we can always control how we respond to it. Remember, anger solves nothing. It can be born of love or hate, and whether it's about something important or a small thing, what matters is how it affects our soul. Anger is like fire. No matter what it burns, the important thing is that it burns. Let's learn to tame that fire and practice inner peace no matter what. You have chosen a wonderful path that will bring you much in life, if only you remain patient and diligent, seeking true understanding. It would be foolish to seek wisdom if you do not already have it within you. You do not need to pray or seek help from gods in distant temples. God is much closer than you think. He is with you, within you, and around you. That, Lucilius, is the true divine, the spirit within each of us, guiding our thoughts and protecting our hearts. How we treat that spirit is how the universe will treat us. Without this divine spark within us, no one can be truly good. It is God's hand that helps us overcome life's challenges. Can we truly triumph in life without this divine support? He gives us the wisdom we need in difficult moments. God dwells within every person, even if we don't always feel it. Have you ever seen an ancient forest with enormous trees whose branches are so tall they block out the sky? The beauty and tranquility there make you feel as if you are close to something sacred. Or perhaps you have been in a cave formed all by nature and sense that a higher power is there. Such places are not temples built by humans, but natural wonders that inspire awe. We worship the springs of great rivers, the bubbling waters from deep hidden caves, dark pools that hold secrets we don't understand. We see the divine in these natural wonders because they remind us of something greater than ourselves. When we see someone calm in danger, undistracted by earthly desires, serene in adversity, and peaceful in chaos, we feel deep respect for that person. We sense that their soul is not merely human. Their calmness and strength show that a divine power dwells within them. Just as the sun touches the earth but remains in the sky, so divinity touches our soul and connects us to something higher. But what does it really mean to have such a soul? A soul that shines not through external possessions or beautiful things, but through its own kindness and warmth. How foolish would it be to admire someone only for what may soon be lost? It would be madness to fall in love with qualities that can disappear at any moment. Imagine a lion with a shining golden mane created by its keepers, but its weight making it tired and weak. Compare it to a wild lion living free, strong and proud without jewelry or adornment. The adorned lion may appear impressive, but the untamed lion, brave and powerful, deserves true respect. Just as the value of a vine is measured by how well it bears fruit, so a person should not be judged by their possessions, but by the good qualities they possess. Wealth, titles, and pomp are only external. They do not reveal who a person is truly. The true measure of a person lies in his soul, in his thinking, his striving for good, and his life in harmony with nature. A person can have many helpers, own large houses, and a lot of money, but these are not truly parts of themselves. They do not reflect their inner worth. The things that make a person special cannot be bought or lost. They come from within. True greatness means mastering one's reason and living in accordance with one's nature. This is a person's greatest asset, living in harmony with who they are. But this path is not easy. It is made more difficult by all the chaos and confusion around us. The world entices us with bad habits, distractions, and superficial things. How can one maintain one's good qualities when everyone around one is trying to lead one astray? The world wants us to follow the crowd, but one's true calling lies within. It is a path of self-control, conscious action, and searching for the deeper truths of life. The path to true wisdom means not being deceived by the false things of the world that seek to distract us from finding our true selves. I was very pleased to read your letter. I mean joy here in the way we understand it in everyday life, without the deeper Stoic meaning. For Stoics, joy is often viewed with suspicion, for they believe that true joy belongs only to those who are truly wise. True joy is a quiet happiness that comes from being content with oneself and one's good qualities, not dependent on external things or impulsive emotions. It comes from within, from a mind that relies on its own goodness and is untroubled by the vagaries of life. In everyday life, we often rejoice in special events, like when a friend gets an important job, a wedding is celebrated, or a child is born. Such moments make us happy, but they can often lead to worries later on. We can feel joy when good things happen to us or our loved ones, but this joy is only temporary and can quickly turn into disappointment. The joy the Stoics speak of, however, always remains the same. It does not change with the ups and downs of life. True joy is constant and lasts forever. It never turns into sadness or regret. So when Virgil speaks of evil joys, his words are powerful but not entirely accurate. True joy can never be evil. What Virgil means is the joy of mistakes and bad things, which sometimes feels like joy to people, but is not the real lasting joy we seek. Nevertheless, I believe I was right when I said that I felt great joy reading your letter, because even people who don't yet know everything can be happy when they discover something honorable that aligns with their values. But this joy can quickly fade, because it's based only on an opinion that can change. Such joy is fickle and sometimes excessive. It can distract us from true happiness. But what particularly pleased me about your letter was your way of writing. You use your words skillfully while remaining honest and clear. You stick to what you want to say and are not easily distracted. This ability is rare and deserves great respect. Many writers sometimes allow themselves to be seduced by a beautiful or exciting formulation and lose sight of their actual topic. Their words then seem like a distraction, intended more to impress than to explain clearly. But that's not the case with your text. Every sentence you wrote is precise, important, and well suited to the topic. When you said, "Say everything you want," I could sense that there was more to it, something deep and meaningful that wasn't being said directly. This not only shows the importance of your topic, but also that your thinking is clear and focused without getting lost in long digressions. You don't just write to entertain, but to say something truly important and true. I also noticed some similes in your letter. They weren't particularly unusual or new, but rather familiar images that have stood the test of time. Some people think that similes should be reserved only for poets, but that's not true. Our ancient writers, who were more concerned with clarity and content than with a striking style, like to use these images, not just because they sound beautiful, but because they help make difficult ideas easier to understand. Such images are an aid to both speaker and listener, helping us better grasp difficult thoughts. They bring the topic closer to us and make it more understandable. For example, I'm currently reading about Sextius, a philosopher who writes in Greek but lives according to Roman rules. He uses an image I really like. He compares a well-ordered army, marching in a fixed formation and ready to fight from all directions, to the way we should live our lives. This image resonated deeply with me because it shows how important it is to remain calm and ready, no matter what difficulties we face. Sextius describes a person who remains kind even when hurt, is generous even when others steal everything, and remains self-possessed despite being surrounded by temptation. That's the goal, to be someone who finds peace within themselves no matter what. It reminds us how difficult it can be to remain good when everything around us is in disarray. Often we are unwilling to improve because we think we're already better than others. Yet it's precisely this feeling of already being the best that holds us back from growth. True greatness comes not from comparing ourselves to others, but from our own desire to become wise and good. Alexander, the great general, continually expanded his empire, reaching far into India. On his travels, he encountered many foreign peoples, of whom even their neighbors knew little. During the siege of a city, Alexander wisely examined the defenses to find the weakest point. While observing the walls, he was struck and wounded by an arrow. Despite the pain, he remained courageous and continued his task. But the injury worsened. The blood flowed more slowly, the wound began to dry, and his leg slowly thawed as he sat on his horse and concentrated. Eventually, Alexander had to retreat, but as he did so, he said something important. "Everyone says I am the son of Jupiter, but this wound shows me that I am mortal." We should think this way too. It's easy to be blinded by compliments and believe the image others want to paint of us. Like Alexander, we need to know our limits. If someone praises you and says you're smart or special, you shouldn't just believe everything. Think about what you really want. Consider how many things you desire that you don't actually need, and how many goals burden you rather than make you happy. Animals know when they're full, but we humans often forget to stop. We always want more. even though what we really need is completely different. If you want to know if you are wise, ask yourself simple questions. A wise person remains calm and collected no matter what is happening around them. They enjoy joy in a way that doesn't fade quickly or depend on things. If your heart is at peace, you have no fear of the future, and your soul remains honest and content under all circumstances, then you have achieved the greatest gift there is. But if you are always chasing pleasures and allowing yourself to be distracted by them, then you are still far from true wisdom. Wisdom is not found in wealth, titles, or fleeting pleasures. These are just distractions. True joy comes from within, from a soul that is at peace with itself. Many people are like wanderers lost in a dense forest, searching for joy but not knowing where to find it. Some hope to find it in food or drink by consuming too much. Others chase power or recognition, and still others seek it in fleeting friendships or empty words of wisdom. They chase after all these things because they believe they will make them happy, but in the end, they are often disappointed. For true joy is not to be found in these fleeting pleasures. For example, intoxication brings a brief moment of great joy, but it is followed by a hangover and pain. Even the applause of many people or brief fame do not bring lasting happiness. Behind them lie worries, the pressure to always appear strong or perfect, and the fear of suddenly losing everything. These joys may appear happy, but they are deceptive and over quickly. True joy, however, lasts long and is not shattered. It does not depend on what is happening outside, but grows from inner values such as courage, justice, and self-control. A wise person feels a joy that remains, no matter how the world turns. This joy is not disturbed by good or bad luck. It persists even in difficult times. The mind of a wise person is like a clear sky, calm and expansive, undisturbed by the storms of life. This is the joy we should seek, a joy founded on wisdom and good deeds. So why is it so important to strive for wisdom? Because wisdom is the path to a joy that never wavers. Unlike fleeting joys that come and go, wisdom bestows a lasting happiness that comes from possessing the virtues that make life truly worthwhile. Courage, fairness, and discipline are the qualities that make a person truly joyful. They are the basis for a joy that no one can take away. And when you grow tired of striving to be wise, remember, the stupid and the mean know no true joy. They may experience brief satisfaction, but their joy remains superficial and quickly disappears. Just as a lion who is briefly happy after a hunt, but soon becomes hungry again, those who hunt only superficial pleasures do not experience lasting joy. They may experience momentary happiness, but it quickly vanishes and makes way for new desires. True joy is found not in what you eat or gather, but in how you live, in harmony with your best values. It's not about external wealth or recognition, but about cultivating a mind and soul that remain calm no matter what the world brings. This is the joy experienced by the wise person, and it is what we should all strive for. When night falls and the pleasures one has accumulated to satisfy their body's insatiable hunger slowly fade, then a person feels the emptiness of their waste. In such moments, when excess becomes bitter, they remember the sad words of Virgil. You know how, amid false shining pleasures we spent last night. The pleasures they so desperately sought, the feasts, the sensual indulgences, the fleeting moments of happiness, are merely deceptive highlights. They lived as if each night were their last, yet when morning comes, the transience of that joy becomes clearly visible. But this kind of joy, the joy of momentary pleasure, can never compare to the joy of the gods or those who live by virtue. The joy of true contentment does not end with night or when the body grows tired. It endures, unshakable and firm. This joy no one can give or take away. It does not depend on external factors, for it comes from within. The peace of a virtuous soul is invulnerable to the vicissitudes of the world. Joy that comes from wealth, status, or fleeting desires may fade or be lost, but the joy of the soul remains constant. It grows from the knowledge of one's own strength and virtue, from the awareness that true happiness depends not on external circumstances, but on a person's character and wisdom. Every day reminds us that we are mortal. We are constantly reminded of how fragile our lives are, how quickly our plans can fall apart, and how small we are in the grand scheme of things. We dream of the future, seek success and pleasure, but death is already waiting just beyond the horizon. Our strength and our successes can be taken away in an instant, just as easily as we forget how vulnerable we are. The reminder of death is not a sad message, but an invitation to live consciously, in harmony with our limitations, and to savor each moment with mindfulness and clarity. Perhaps you are wondering what all this means. It is a reflection on the life of Cornelius Seneca, a Roman knight of great repute whom you may know. His path to wealth was marked by hard work and ambition. Coming from humble beginnings, Seneca worked tirelessly, carefully building both his wealth and his good name. It is often said that it is harder to maintain success than to achieve it, but Seneca managed both. He knew how to make money, but he was equally good at keeping it. He had all the qualities that make a rich man, yet he lived modestly, careful to maintain a balance between wealth and health, between pleasure and responsibility. One morning he came to me, as he often did. He had spent the entire day with a seriously ill friend, caring for him with great care and attention, just as one would expect from someone of his character. After a simple and hearty dinner, Seneca was suddenly struck by a violent attack of a disease called quinsy, a condition in which the throat swells and the airways constrict so severely that one can hardly breathe. Although Seneca was otherwise very strong and took good care of his health, he was unable to overcome this terrible illness. His breathing became labored, and although he fought bravely, he barely survived the night. Within a few hours, a man who had devoted himself entirely to life and his responsibilities, taking care of his money, working diligently, and living his daily life, disappeared from this world. Just as he was beginning to reap the fruits of his labor, he was unexpectedly taken from this life. This sudden end shows us very clearly how fleeting life is and how fragile our plans can be. Despite all his effort and preparation, death came without warning. His wealth, his reputation, all of that mattered less than what was inevitable. This story teaches us, no matter how well we plan everything and how secure we feel, the end always remains uncertain. We should place our hope not in external things, but in our inner wisdom, in the ability to live well and honestly, and to go with the flow of life. Now dig your rows, Malibus, and set the vines in good order. These words, which describe the careful planting of grapevines, paint a picture of precise planning. But they also reveal a great foolishness. It is pointless to plan one's life as if the future were certain. It is good to take care of the present, but it is quite another to make complicated plans for a future that no one really knows. How foolish it is to believe that we can control what will happen tomorrow or many years from now. To say, I will buy land, build a big house, become rich and secure, and when I am old I will rest easy, is nothing but a dream. These are the thoughts of people who believe they have time in their hands, but time is out of reach for all of us. The truth is, no one can be sure that there will be a tomorrow. Even people who seem very successful can suddenly be struck by blows of fate. Everything flows, slipping through our hands like sand. The things we want to hold on to most, our money, our plans, our health, can disappear in an instant. While time moves surely on, we often live as if we have it completely under control. We believe we can plan and shape our lives with precision, but while we're full of plans, we forget the dark truth. Death is always with us, reminding us how fragile we are. We dream of faraway goals, plan trips, and think of careers that will take us up the ranks, of honorable positions that will bring recognition. But the truth lies hidden all the time. Death is always there, waiting to claim its due. It's strange how often we hear of someone else's death without really understanding what it means. For a brief moment we are sad, but the next day we carry on with our lives as if death were just something that happens to others. What could be more foolish than to be surprised when death comes knocking on our door, as if it was something that only happens a long way away? Our life has a limit, a final limit, determined by fate. But no one knows when that limit will be reached. We cannot say when our time will come, and therefore we must ask ourselves, how much time do we have left? The answer is, live each day as if it were your last. Cherish every moment, because time is precious and limited. The mistake many people make is to put everything off, to live as if they still have time to finish everything. But life is never perfect, and the idea that you can always do everything later is an illusion. Those who live as if they no longer have time find peace, because such people do not constantly worry about the future. They are not afraid of what may come, because they live each day consciously. Nothing destroys us more than fear of what's to come. We worry, imagine the worst, and build fears that may never happen. We torment ourselves with thoughts of what might happen tomorrow or a year from now, not realizing that this fear is a prison of our own making. Our minds are tormented by unfounded fear, distracting us from what we truly have, the present moment. The solution is simple. Stop worrying about what lies in the future. Don't try to control what you can't influence. Instead, look within and focus on the here and now. Those who live in the present, who have mastered the art of being in the moment, will not be thrown off course by the uncertainty of the future. A soul that has found peace in the present, that fulfills its purpose and finds joy in the simple life, will remain calm no matter what happens. If you are secure within, if you understand that life is short but every moment is precious, then you can face fate with courage. What does it matter if the future is uncertain? What can happen if you are strong deep down? So, my dear Lilius, start living now. See each day as a new life. Cherish every moment as if it were your last. If you can do this and live each day consciously, you will no longer be afraid. Then you will have found the secret of peace and understood that true happiness does not come from what we own or achieve, but from how we live each moment with courage and meaning. And yet there are people who, in their desperation to hold on to life, fight to the last. Even if they have to endure pain and suffering, they endure every misfortune that befalls them, asking only to be allowed to breathe. They beg for their life, no matter how weak, broken, or altered their bodies have become. They beg for the chance to survive, even if that survival costs them their dignity or their well-being. For them, life is the most important thing, even if it means enduring pain. They hold on even when their bodies have barely any strength left, grasping for life with trembling hands, not understanding that it is not life itself that is precious, but how we choose to live it. Imagine someone hanging on a cross, tormented by intense pain, not asking for their suffering to end, but for more time on this earth, as if breathing were the greatest gift. The scene is sad and difficult to comprehend. There is a soul who, despite unbearable agony, desperately begs to prolong the life that this pain has brought them. They cry out, "You can weaken my body, you can break me, but please, let me keep breathing." They are not asking for their suffering to end, but for it to last longer, as if life were worth all the pain. You have to stop and ask yourself, is this really worth it? To endure so much suffering, to hang on a cross, to suffer forever. What's the point of clinging to life if all you get is more pain? What is life worth if it's nothing but prolonged agony? It's ironic that he asks for the very life that causes his pain, not seeing that what he really needs is an end to suffering. Perhaps he never heard the wise words of Virgil, "Tell me, is death really so bad?" Virgil knew the futility of prolonging suffering and clinging to life when death brings liberation. Death is not the enemy, it is the end of pain. Those who ask for more time only prolong the suffering they should be leaving behind. It seems as if humans are strangely willing to endure anything just to stay alive, even if that life is full of suffering. How strange it is that we so often choose life at any cost, even if it involves pain. Some betray their friends or lose their honor just to live a few more years, a few more breaths. But what kind of life is that? To cling to existence and lose one's dignity and soul in the process. Indeed, nature has given us the greatest gift, death. It is nothing to be feared. It is a release, a liberation from the burden of life. This thought challenges us to rethink our relationship to life and death. We should stop seeing life as a matter of endless survival, as if simply breathing were the most important goal. It's time to abandon the illusion that more life is always better. Instead, we should focus on how we live, not just how long. When we learn to accept death and understand that it comes for everyone, we can live more fully and meaningfully. We stop being afraid of the end and begin to live each moment consciously. When we read Seneca's letters, we discover many lessons that are still relevant today. Although they were written almost 2,000 years ago, they help us better understand the difficulties of our time. They invite us to reflect on our lives and our choices, offering us a timeless wisdom that leads us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. In the first letter, titled Saving Time, Seneca reminds us how precious time is. He urges us not to waste a moment, because every second we use is something we never get back. In our fast-paced, distraction-filled world, we often forget how precious our time is. We are constantly surrounded by new distractions, opportunities, and obligations. But Seneca shows us that time is our most precious treasure. We must use it carefully and treasure it like a great treasure. The fourth letter speaks about the fear of death and calls us to confront our mortality. Seneca says that understanding and accepting death helps us live better. It's not about always thinking about death, but rather seeing it as a reminder to truly make the most of each day. When we know that death comes for everyone, we live with more urgency and purpose, making the most of the time we have left. In the sixth letter, Seneca explains the importance of sharing knowledge. The wisdom we learn should not be kept to ourselves, but shared with others. Knowledge is most valuable when we share it, because we help others and learn more ourselves. This is true even today, when information is more readily available than ever before. We have a responsibility to share our knowledge, encourage others, and strengthen our community. Seneca's 18th letter speaks of feasts and fasting and shows the value of simplicity. In a world that always wants us to have more, Seneca invites us to be content with less. When we learn not to constantly want more, we can find greater peace and contentment. This ability to control ourselves and forego excess makes us strong and grateful, especially in difficult times when we experience loss or hardship. When we learn to live simply, we become more resilient and appreciate the good things we have. In the 41st letter, Seneca speaks of the divine spark within our minds. He explains that within every person resides a piece of the divine, a special capacity to be wise and virtuous. Growth, however, is not just about learning new knowledge or acquiring skills, but rather about discovering this deeper wisdom within. It means striving to live in a way that reflects our best selves, acting honestly, thinking clearly, and treating others kindly. In doing so, we draw closer to the divine and fulfill the purpose for which we were created. With his letters, Seneca shows us a path to clear thinking and self-understanding. He invites us to live consciously, appreciate the moment, and accept life and death serenely. His words are as valuable today as they were in ancient Rome and help us better understand the difficult aspects of being human. In his 59th letter, Pleasure and Joy, Seneca takes us on a journey of reflection, explaining that there is a difference between brief pleasures and true, lasting joy. This genuine joy comes from deep connections with others, through shared experiences, understanding, and caring. Seneca's words are especially relevant today, when many of us spend a lot of time on social media and friendships often seem superficial. We see many images of seemingly perfect lives and quick pleasures, but they don't truly bring happiness. True joy is about depth, not distractions. It comes from relationships that last over time, from people who truly know and understand us, and from moments that make us grow. In a world that promises quick fixes, Seneca reminds us what truly matters, the connections that nourish our souls and give us joy that lasts longer than any fleeting distractions. In Letter 101, Seneca talks about the point of over-planning life. He shows us that life is fleeting and uncertain. No matter how much we plan or want to control, there will always be changes. Making plans isn't wrong, but expecting everything to happen exactly as planned often leads to disappointment. Instead, Seneca encourages us to accept that life brings surprises and to remain flexible. In an age where perfectionism and anxiety about the future are widespread, This Stoic perspective is a welcome relief. It frees us from the fear of having to control everything and reminds us that life is unpredictable. Our strength lies in adapting, so instead of worrying about tomorrow, we should focus our energy on today, on our thoughts, our actions, and on responding calmly to what comes. At the end of this study of Seneca's letters, it's important to understand that his teachings aren't mere words or meant to remain abstract ideas. They are messages from the past that can still touch us today. Seneca's wisdom isn't just for reflection, it's meant to be lived. Every thought is an invitation to change our view of the world and our lives. See this moment as a new beginning, a spark that ignites something deep within you. The words you've read are like seeds that want to grow and can change you, even if you may not fully feel it right now. If you hold on to just one of these thoughts, if an idea comes to you, even if only for a brief moment, then that is enough. Therein lies the power of Stoic wisdom. It can shift your perspective and lead you to a more conscious and fulfilling life. Seneca's teachings aren't just for learning. They are a guide for living a life that is aware of its transience and yet full of meaning. As you leave these thoughts, may you take with you that every day is an opportunity to become the best version of yourself. This moment, right now, is part of your life, which is constantly weaving and evolving. Don't simply leave your life to chance, and don't let uncertainty drive you. Instead, move forward with courage and intention. Today can be the beginning of something new within you. May your journey be the most beautiful and important experience you ever have, because in the end, this journey, the search for meaning, wisdom, and joy, is the most important of all. May it be your greatest adventure.